All right, all right, all right. Finally live. It took me a while to get the lights set up in my house to do this without like shadows coming in from all different directions, but we're going. A couple of people on already. I want to wait till a good amount of people jump on here, since we are announcing the winner of the giveaway that we've been doing. I've already drawn the name, so I'll explain the process by which I did that, and we'll announce it here in just a minute. It would be nice if we had a bigger audience for when we announce the winner of the live stream. It would be nice if they were on. But we got a couple of people jumping on. Lots of greetings. Hi, hello. How are you? Like community. Hi, hello. Hi, hello. How are you? Catfish and Bass says you. Davidson Lort says hi from Nebraska. Hello. Never been to Nebraska, but that is a good movie, Nebraska. Will Forte and Bob Odenkirk and Bruce Dern. I think that was Nebraska. I think that's what it's called. Been a long time. Catfish and Bass says hi from Texas. Jason Hollinger says, yo, the Mountain Monsters fan says, love the vids. Like I say, thank you. I appreciate it. Friends in Fishing Adventure, hey man, starting my channel down in Angleton. We'll definitely send me the link to your vids that you upload. I'll check them out. And email me, like I said, because I got some decent spots down that way, because that's where I grew up. I'm assuming, I mean, you might already know more about that area than I have, because I didn't start my channel until I was into Houston. Got some more people jumping on now, which is good. Davidson Lort says, it is cold. In Nebraska? Yeah, no, I bet. I hear it's cold and very flat. Hidden Cowboy says, what's up, man? Jason Hollander says, Midwest. Yeah, I'm the South, so. Why is this? I don't want to have to scroll through all these comments. It usually just goes on its own. Hi from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That smokes 412. Hello. I've never been to Pennsylvania, but I'd love to go. Hidden Cowboy says South Texas. Yep, same. Reeling with Robbie. That's what's that red rod behind me? It looks like a Super Cat Legacy bottom feeder is my all-time favorite, though. Yeah, no, the Denali bottom feeder is good. That is a B&M Silver Cat Elite. So this one, I was actually taking some line off the reel. That's why it's in here. But the rod is the B&M Silver Cat Elite, and it is a very, very nice catfishing gar rod. Very long handle. The butt section for the handle allows for the grip that I prefer. It's got a good bend to it, unlike a lot of rods they make for big fish get really stiff. This one has a nice, kind of like, it's between a medium heavy and a heavy action as far as it feels. A lot of people really like these rods. I think they handle more than their advertised weight in fish. Really good to have. The biggest fish I caught on that rod was like a 6.5 foot alligator gar. Handled it no problem. Let's see. I need some fishing spots people don't know about. Well, join my Patreon. I got a bunch on there. Jason Hollander says Missouri River is the place to fish. I don't doubt it. Sounds like a big, intimidating river, though. I'm getting a lot of comments. We're not going to wait too long to do the giveaway. I don't want to bury the lead, as they say. You want to start off with what you're advertising, right? So as soon as a few more people jump on here, I will announce who's going to win. I'll recap what's all in here, and I'll announce who has won it. Friends Fishing and Adventure says, I grew up in Freeport. Yeah, I grew up in Angleton, just right next to that. The Holiday Lakes area, specifically. Catfish and Bass, do you know how to catch more catfish in the winter? Persistence. Persistence. Catfish are one of the few fish that will bite in the winter, but I mean, you're going to target larger fish. They're going to be slower moving, so in the winter for catfish, I prefer fishing like larger baits with a stronger scent, and I tend to I fish a lot slower. So like a lot of the times in the summer, I'll throw baits into moving water and drift it past catfish. I don't do that so much. I'll throw it where I know these big catfish are hanging out, and I'll let it sit, and that scent just overwhelms them. Third Coast Fishing says, what's up, bro? When's the grouper rematch? Later this year. I'm going to get some bigger tackle, go back out there. If you guys don't know, in my last video I uploaded using iguana for bait, I hooked into what is probably a grouper. Could be a large shark, but everyone there, every single fisherman that was there when it happened was like, that is definitely a grouper. It's only when people are on the internet, they're like, no, man, I'm so experienced, I know better. It's like, okay, well, everyone who was there says the same thing, except they say it was a grouper. Honestly, I don't really care. I don't care. I got the video, the best video I could in the circumstance, so. All right, I'm getting quite a few comments. So I'm going to go over the package that we're giving away, and then I will announce the winner. This is James Hernandez. Hey, from Wisconsin. I used to live in Texas around the Houston area, and I started fishing around Houston more because of your channel. I appreciate that. Wisconsin, I've only been to, oh man, I can't remember what area of Wisconsin I was in. Really pretty, though. It's like I don't even remember. I'm trying to remember the town I was in, but I can't. The Mountain Monsters fan says, out here doing some fishing and caught some bullhead catfish so far. Caught 6 in 2 hours. That's nice. I went carp fishing today and caught 3 in about 5 minutes. So certain fish are active now that the temperature is rising again. Catfish and bass. Do you know how to catch more? I just thought I just read that. Cappy says, you inspired me to fish Buffalo Bayou after I moved to Houston, Energy Corridor in 2017, and moved to live on Moses Lake. Yeah, Moses Lake during the pandemic. You're welcome to come fishing anytime. I appreciate that. I've only been fishing at near that spillway. Is it near Moses Lake? I might be thinking of a different spot. I know round about what you're talking about. Good fishing down there. Good flounder fishing and red drum fishing. Reeling with Robbie says, oh damn, I got one of those from Academy once, realized I got a medium instead of a heavy, so returned it, but it seemed pretty solid. It's hard for me to use anything less than the 7'10" bottom feeder. What size? I thought this was a medium heavy. Let's see. I have, where's the, can't find the stats on this thing. Where'd they go? Oh, that's so annoying. It's like, I'm trying to find the stats of the rod and just can't seem to find them anywhere. It's possible that it just got worn off over time. I don't know. Anyway, it's a good rod. David Lord says, I have big walleye in Nebraska. I've never caught a walleye. I've heard people say they are among the best tasting fish you can catch in fresh water. I've heard multiple people say they are so good. All right. I'm going to get to more of your questions, guys. Real quick, let me recap what we're giving away. I'm giving away all of this. This is all going to the same person. Same person is winning all of this at once. The Penn Fierce. Size 6,000, really nice. Penn Fierce 4, size 6,000, really nice reel. And it will hold several hundred yards of 80-pound braid. I'm bleeding. Where am I bleeding from? It's something I say more than I probably should. Why do I have blood all over my fingers? What the hell? Where's that dye? Did it come off the rod? I don't know. Huh. Okay, back at it. It will hold several hundred yards of this Suffix 80-pound braid with a nice top shot. For gar fishing, you want to have a nice top shot of 100-pound monofilament. Suffix is the brand I like to use, so that's what the winner is going to get. My hooks of choice, the Team Catfish 8/0 Nautilus hooks. I bend them out just a hair, sharpen them down. Really good for alligator gar fishing. Don't let anyone tell you different. Team Catfish swivels. These will hold enormous fish. I caught, I think I caught a, which one was it? I think this is what I was using when I caught some 150-pound ray a few years ago, as well as, all the alligator gar you see on the channel. Most of them are caught with those swivels, some beads, some floats, and 500-pound Kevlar braid for your fishing leader. This is the complete setup, basically, minus the rod. You have to provide your own rod because I didn't want to ship a 7-foot rod. But apart from the rod, this is the kind of setup I use on the channel all the time for loads of big alligator gar and catfish and things like that. Now, the qualifications for entry were simple. I uploaded a video, I think it was like almost 2 weeks ago now, maybe a week and a half. Psycho urban fishing is not for beginners. It was a big, long adventure in Florida that I did, catching lots of snakehead and cichlids and things like that, and acting like a moron near the freeway. Iguana, caught an iguana. And I said, you have to share that video on a social media platform. You have to like the video and comment on the video, and then I just need a screenshot emailed to me of those 3 things. That was the qualifying entry for this giveaway. And the screenshots are not just proof you did it. That's how I'm going to reach out to the winner. So dual purpose there. And what I did is I wrote down every single email I got that had entered, and I started going through the process of checking to see who had actually gone through the process correctly. And I noticed there were a few people who didn't do the actual entry. They misunderstood, even though I tried so many times to clarify the rules. So instead of drawing live and then realizing that somebody had not done the entry correctly, I drew right before this live stream, and I pulled up the email of the winner, and I'm going to read off the YouTube handle of the winner. So I'm not going to give out anyone's email. Don't worry, nobody's going to be spamming you. The way I'm going to do this is simple. I'm going to read out the winner here on YouTube. I'm going to read out their YouTube handle, and then of course I will notify the winner via their email as well. Once you get notified of winning, I'm going to send you the email. Once you get notified, just shoot back to me. You're going to give me your mailing address, and I'm going to send you a package with all of that in it. Probably get it into the mail sometime in the next couple of days. So, without further ado, the winner of all this stuff here to catch some tremendous fish is, old man, I have to squint to read the name. The YouTube handle is DanMac8382. So DanMac8382, you have won yourself all of this awesome gear. So I will send you the email through the email you sent me. I'll respond back to that. But if you are, the number of people who are watching just went down. I knew that was going to happen. Understandable. I wish everyone could win, but I don't have a prize for, however many hundreds of people are gonna enter. But yes, DanMac8382, you won the package. I don't know if you're tuned in right now, but I will notify you. I will notify you through your email, and I will get all this stuff in the mail. So for everyone who entered, number one, thank you so much for doing that. It does help the video performance, and it helps my channel when you guys share all this stuff. I do want to do more giveaways. So look out in the future for additional giveaways, because we're going to keep doing it. Yeah, everyone's leaving now because I said who won. Yeah, so today's winner is DanMac8382. You're going to be notified shortly through the email that you have a nice prize coming to you. We'll do another giveaway real soon. So now that that is out of the way, and everyone who's not invested in the rest of the live stream is bailing, which is totally normal, because after all, this is kind of the whole point of the live stream, is a giveaway. I'll get to some more of your questions. Every now and then I'll repeat who won, because what's happening is not everyone's going to jump on the live stream at once. You're going to have people jumping on in groups as we go. And if somebody jumps on in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and they're like, who won? I'm going to say. So actually, I probably should just post on... No, I'm not going to post on YouTube, because then people won't jump on the live stream. I'll say it a few times. So let's get to some of these questions, and then we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So Friends and Fishing Adventure says, I fish The Brazos and Holiday Lakes. I love the river. Yeah, I have been to, what is the name of that park down there? What is it called? Hang on, I have my maps pulled up right in front of me. I've been scouring the entire state for areas that are not currently underwater. The water levels are going down, but it is a slow and painful process. There is a park, Brazos River County Park. That's the one that I grew up going to. Fun fact: before I had a YouTube channel, I actually caught, and this is a matter of record. I mean, who knows if they keep these records? They should. But the game warden in that area at that time, this would have been almost 10, 15 years ago, was a game warden named Jim Van Dyke. And I remember that name because it was almost Dick Van Dyke, except Jim instead of Dick. So I was like, oh, that'll be easy to remember. I remember calling him to report at the Brazos River County Park in Angleton. I caught a red-bellied pacu about 15 years ago. So really, really cool, surprising thing to see. Let's see. David Lortz, what is my favorite fish to eat and catch? Well, those are two very different things. So my favorite fish to catch is probably the alligator gar. I had a ton of fun catching sturgeon, but there's something about the process of stalking a fish that you know better than most other animals and better than a lot of other people know that animal. Um, that is so enthralling. You kind of develop this personal connection to this animal, but probably have to go with alligator gar. And then favorite fish to eat, obviously not the alligator gar. I would have to say sushi is like my favorite food in the whole world. So I'm trying to think of what is my favorite sushi to eat. Here's the problem with that is I like having variety when I eat sushi. Big fan of mackerel. Big fan of mackerel. Obviously, bluefin tuna is very, very nice. What else? What else? I think when you cook fish, the answer starts to change. Believe it or not, snakehead is delicious. And I've never even had it well prepared. I cooked snakehead maybe 6, 7 months ago in a video. I think it's on my Patreon, and I cooked it on a gas grill in a parking lot next to the lake I caught it in, and shockingly good. Shockingly good. Let's see. Catfish and bass. Do you know if you make a new catfishing video anytime soon? Um, Again, it all depends on the water level and what they're doing. I'm river fishing right now. I've been all over the state fishing the river systems. What I end up catching as a whole will determine what ends up going into that video. So whether or not that becomes a catfish video or a gar video or a catfish and gar video, because I'm still in the process of filming it, remains to be seen. So I'm not sure. Right now, everything is absolutely flooded. I drove out to the San Jacinto the other day, and it was almost coming over the highway. I drove past a spot on the Brazos the other day, and it was flooding the park that was next to it. Now the water is dropping, but the thing about rising water and falling water in Texas, if you're not from Texas, it's a nightmare because not only does the entire landscape around it turn into a mudslide, but the visibility is zero. When the water is moving up or down, it is either taking sediment that it normally can't reach, or like when it comes up, it's like eroding sediment as it comes, right? And then as it goes down, it does the same thing. So basically, as the water goes up and down, and usually there's a correlation with the speed of the flow, because I mean, obviously you have more water moving through kind of a fixed position. And yes, it can rise a bit, but typically what you have is you have more water pushing sediment off the bank. And as the water rises or falls, you have just tremendous amounts of sediment just get washed into the current, and it makes things almost impossible to fish because it is just literally like fishing in mud. It is a nightmare. So probably, I think I've got everything pulled up right now. I've got all the National Weather Service reports for like every river in South Texas right on my computer right here. They're going down, but they're still relatively high. I'm going to take a chance on one of them tomorrow. I won't say where. But yeah, see, right now they're all still really high. Looking at the Brazos River, 1 mile, 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 1 mile It was up at 30 feet on the January the 30th, and it is currently at 17.9 feet. And this, by the way, is based upon a certain area where it gets measured. I use um, the Brazos River near Richmond because I'm not gonna tell you where I live, but that's kind of close to where I live. So it's a good gauge because I see it all the time because I live nearby. Um, 17.9 feet right now. A good level for fishing for gar and catfish in that river is like 11 feet. So it is still extremely high. Anyway, so the water level is dictating my entire life right now. And yes, I've traveled. I've traveled. I went all the way to North Texas just a few days ago for several days to fish, and conditions are just as difficult up there. Mountain Monsters fan says, I gotta go, Wildlife. I'm gonna pack up and head home. Getting insanely cold out. Bye, everyone. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. Don't get too cold. We've got a nice break from the weather here in Texas for a few days. I hope you get the same kind of break coming soon. MetalCon? Fishing is rough when living up in Canada while being afraid to go on the ice, waiting for spring fishing season to start. Yeah, I hear a lot of people tell me that fishing in Canada is not the vacation it's made out to be. That is quite difficult. And I hate the cold. I've been very vocal about that on this channel. I do not like the cold at all. And my definition of cold is not Canada's definition of cold. As a Texan, I start getting exceptionally uncomfortable when it gets down to 30. Like, I hate it. And I know in Canada, that is like nothing compared to what you guys deal with. So I don't blame y'all at all. Anthony Bierrila. Let me know if I'm saying that correctly. I'll just call you Anthony. We got some great fishing out here in Alabama. Got to make a trip out here sometime. Yeah, I've identified a couple of abandoned places in Alabama that I want to try to find water sources near and explore those and fish around those. So I do have some spots picked out in Alabama that I'm interested in. It's just a matter of planning ahead. How do I catch more carp in winter? Carp to me are easy to catch in winter. I caught 3 today in like 5 minutes. That video will be on the Patreon. Good size ones too. But basically, don't overfeed them. So when you're putting out loose feed, ground bait, or anything like that, don't go too heavily because they're not moving as much. So they're not going to be eating as much as long. So what I'd recommend is quite simple. Pick a spot where you know they're going to be, like I did today. Put out some loose feed and don't overdo it. Get your bait in there, and it's imagine normal carp fishing, except you've got a smaller window for when they're going to be feeding actively. In the morning, think about the carp are going to be trying to move into the sunlight. So if you're fishing in the morning, try to fish shallow water as opposed to deep water, because in the morning they're going to want to move into the shallow areas to get as much sunlight as they possibly can to get warmer. Also, the water temperature will be warmer in the shallows. So depth of water is important for the winter, and then don't overfeed them. Apart from that, there's not a huge difference. Carp are very, very, very good fish to target in cold weather. Best carp fishing in my life was in Idaho, and it was so cold that I cannot remember what ended up happening. Again, this is a big video on my Patreon where I caught all these massive mirror carp in this crystal clear lake in Idaho. It was so freezing cold that I could barely hold the rod. I could barely reel the rod. My hands are shaking in the video. It is freezing, but the carp are still going crazy. So it's not that different. Just don't overfeed them. Let's see. Slama says, hey, Wildlife. Hello. Artie says, wow, give me. Unfortunately, we've already done the giveaway, guys. The winner of the giveaway, if you haven't already heard, is a user with the name Dan Mac, I think 8382. Let's check that again. Dan Mac 8382 has won that prize that we put together. We will do another giveaway soon. Do not despair. There's always the chance that you will win the next one. I guarantee you, at some point, even the winners of my giveaways think to themselves, I will definitely not win this giveaway, but I'll enter anyway, and then they win. That's always how it works. Let's see. Hidden Cowboy says, I'm going to need to buy some of those. I don't know if you mean the package that I was giving out or the rod I was just showing. But yeah, I mean, it's all good gear. Friends Fishing and Adventure. One of my best videos. Thank you. I don't know if you're referring to the last one or the one before, but I put a lot of effort into both of them. And I'm putting a lot of effort into the next... actually, the next video is already filmed. It's already uploaded. It's just not published yet. Saturday is going to be a video with multiple fish over 100 pounds. Multiple fish over 100 pounds in this upcoming video. Some of the best fishing of my life in this next video. You guys need to keep your eyes out for it. I won't tell you what species, but multiple fish over 7 feet long in this next video. It's going to be awesome. Let's see. Catfish and bass. Do you know the best tip when catching carp in the winter? Yeah, don't overfeed them. Just fish like normal. Look for areas of shallow water and sunlight in the morning. Don't overfeed them when you're putting out your loose feed to attract them. Lots of congratulations, because you guys probably just heard me repeat who won. Good sportsmanship there. I appreciate that. Smokes 412. Heck yeah, buddy. Fish on. Thank you. I appreciate it. James Hernandez says, going to show my brother some of your videos, but congratulations on the winner. I appreciate you showing my videos, and the winner, if they hear that, I'm sure they will appreciate the congrats. Clark Hudgens says, hi from North Carolina. Hello. Never been to North Carolina. I don't think I've been to either of the Carolinas, actually. Let's see. Friends Fishing and Adventure says Brazos River Park. Yeah, that's the one. As a kid, I used to play there all the time, and they still have all the. This is the scary bit. They have all the same like playground equipment. They haven't changed any of it in like 25 years or more because I'm getting old. It's kind of scary how old some of that playground equipment is. Yvonne Daniel says, good evening. Thank you. Good evening to you. I guess, is it evening? Yeah, it's still evening. It's only 7:30. My God. Feels late. I think it's supposed to start getting light earlier. No. Dark later. Fairly soon. And I am so ready for that. I hate the winter so much. My opinion on the winter is very much summed up in... if you guys haven't seen John Carpenter's The Thing, I got asked the other day, quick correction. I got asked the other day what my favorite movies were, my 5 favorite movies. And I remembered afterwards that I left like one of my all-time favorite movies out of the top 5, which is just embarrassing. I forgot to mention Taxi Driver, which is Scorsese's my favorite filmmaker. Taxi Driver is probably my 3rd favorite movie, so that would bump everything back a bit. I'd probably put, what do you call it? Starting at number 5, John Carpenter's The Thing. Number 4 would be Jaws. Number 3 would be Taxi Driver. Number 2 would be Picnic at Hanging Rock. And number 1 would be Saturday Night Fever. But anyway, back to John Carpenter's The Thing. Kurt Russell has a line that sums up my opinion on cold weather in this time of year perfectly. And if you are sensitive to language, I suggest you plug your ears right now. But when they first like have the incident in the beginning where things start going wrong, Kurt Russell's like, first goddamn week of winter. I feel that in my bones every time he says it. I feel him so hard when he says that. It's like, oh man, like I get you, Kurt Russell. If we're not alike in any other way, I understand this. I understand McCready's hatred of winter. I hate it. I said HC fishing wrong. Did I say it before? If you want, if you're gonna correct me on how to say something, I don't mind if you correct me how to say something, but I mean, like, put a phonetic spelling on there. Because if I've already said it wrong by reading it and then trying to say it, reading you type it out next to the handle exactly the same is not going to help me pronounce it any different. I do want to pronounce people's names correctly and their channel names correctly and all that stuff, but if I'm having trouble and it bothers you, put a phonetic spelling on there. David Lort says, I love to go sturgeon fishing and the reel to start screaming and to see a 6-foot fish go out of the water. Yeah, the jumping is really cool. Alligator gar jump, but not the same and not the same frequency and not with the same power at all. Alligator gar will jump typically when you get really close to your position. They don't jump when they're out at distance, typically. And everyone's experience is different, but typically for me, alligator gar tend to just jump when you get them really close. Or they'll try to jump when you get the landing rope on, and they start jumping. But sturgeon will jump throughout the entire fight, and it is just madness when they do it. It's really cool. It's also cool when you see a fish from 100 yards away break the water, and it's like, oh my god, it's big. Let's see. Friends Fishing and Adventures. I'll drop Saturday down here. It'll drop Saturday down here. I thought you said you'll drop Saturday down here. It'll drop Saturday down here. Do you mean the water level or the temperature? Because I'm excited about one of those, not the other. I think what day is the water supposed to kind of reach its normal levels again? February the 6th is when the Brazos is scheduled to hit its regular levels. That's the only river I can find on the National Weather Service that has a prediction. Everything else just tells you where we are. That one has a prediction of where it's going to be. I think that just has to do with the fact that it has a very predictable pattern that has been studied because it's caused so much damage over the years. But who knows? Regardless, it's too long for me. Let's see. I still don't know how to pronounce your name. SJSHBNWJSNS. Yeah, def in that low 40-foot range for the Brazos is perfect for the spot. Oh, you're talking about the that spillway. Yeah. Just wait till the springtime, man. When those gar start showing their breeding behaviors and they'll start moving into that water, they will be there by the dozens. No monsters, but I mean, not my experience, but it is a lot of fun to target them then. HC fishing, again, apologies if that's not the right way to say it, but have you ever caught any reds in the bayou? A few. It's very few and far between. Usually because I've gotten the feeding habits of alligator gar and catfish down to a science. I have got it down to a science. So typically speaking, my presentation is suited perfectly for them. Also, I fish a lot of when I'm fishing in like concrete sections of the bayou. It's the presentation that is perfect for catfish and gar. When I'm fishing in the larger sections of the bayou that are not concrete, I fish larger baits, and it would have to be a phenomenally large red drum to fully take the bait. So the chances of catching them kind of go down in both scenarios. I've caught a few, but it's rare. Except for there's a spillway, there's a waste treatment plant that I've caught loads of red drum at using lures or like getting a little piece of cut bait and putting it on a jig head and casting it out. I've caught loads of red drum at that wastewater treatment plant in Houston. Thanos Dolphin. Okay. Says, hey and nice. Slim Shady says, smash. Smish everyone. David Lort says, don't you like to box? Yes. I've been a martial artist. I've been a mixed martial artist for have to think. This is how you know you're getting old, is when you have to think about every age, every like time frame that you're gonna give in your life. You're like, how long has it been? Since I was about 20, 21, so 13, 14 years almost. And I've been a martial artist since I was 14, 15 years old. So it's been a while. But yeah, I started out in Taekwondo, uh, as a lot of people do. But my Taekwondo style was based largely on the International Taekwondo Federation. So there's a couple of different Taekwondo federations. The World Taekwondo Federation is the one you see in the Olympics, where there's no punching. You'll see a lot of like posturing with the hands, and then a lot of like they throw a lot more like hook kicks and axe kicks coming up, and it's more like it's a point sparring that is much more like a game of tag. Um, I don't like it. And then the ITF, the International Taekwondo Federation, is kind of evolved out of the karate tournament style fighting of the 60s. It's much more similar to Shotokan karate, which there's a lot more of like, cross line defense, or, like the Philly shell in boxing, except not nearly as scientific as the Philly shell in boxing. It's a lot more of like the Jean-Claude Van Damme pose, which is actually from a guy that I knew early in my martial arts journey, named Joe Louis, one of the all-time great karate fighters. I was very lucky to get to know him. A student training partner of Bruce Lee. He was the first heavyweight kickboxing champion of the world in America, and I was very lucky to know him when I was younger. And he originated that kind of like that stance in the tournament scene, like that wide stance with this position with his hands, and there's a lot of like the reverse hand punch, which is called Gyakizuki in karate. Lots of lead leg work. Side kick kind of became my specialty. The side kick, hook kick, round kick combination, the back fist, and then throwing all those kicks in between. And I did that for about 6 years religiously, and I'm still very good at it. I don't ever do it on the show, but I can kick an apple off your head. And then I got interested in mixed martial arts, and I was aware of mixed martial arts for a long time. I actually saw I was very young at the time. This would have been around 2004, 2005, when Matt Hughes fought Royce Gracie. I saw that fight. My dad had bought that pay-per-view way back in the day. God, that was well over 20 years ago at this point. And I saw that, and I was like, "Well, this is interesting." And then in Taekwondo, I learned a little bit of judo in Taekwondo because my instructor's instructor was a judo black belt as well, so a little bit of it bled down. And doing a judo throw wrong one day, we both ended up on the floor, and I said, "Hey, what do you do in this scenario if you both end up on the floor?" And my instructor's response was, "Just don't end up on the floor." And being that all of fighting is essentially boiled down to putting someone where they don't want to be. Sorry, something just popped up on the screen that isn't usually there. Anyway, I'll leave that where it is. Being that all of fighting can be summed up by putting someone where they don't want to be, the answer of don't end up on the floor is really stupid, because it means there's someone out there whose specialty is putting you on the floor. So I was like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to fight on the ground. If there's fighting standing up, there's guy, and that was like maybe 17 at the time, like 18, and this was a long time ago. It was like 2008, so the UFC was not mainstream. It was like barely touching its foot into the mainstream sports world. I was like, there's got to be some fighting system that specializes in fighting on the ground. And living in Texas, collegiate wrestling was not really a thing. Football, everyone does football. If you were from the Midwest, you probably wrestled in school, but in Texas, we didn't do that. So this is how you know I'm old. I went to a Blockbuster and found a VHS cassette on Gracie Jiu-Jitsu by the Machado brothers. Or they probably would have just called it like whatever their system was, like Machado Jiu-Jitsu or something like that. But basically, they were advertising themselves teaching Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which would eventually, of course, become known as just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And now the shorthand is just Jiu-Jitsu, because there's so many innovations now coming out of the no-gi scene. But I looked at that, and I started trying to study that, and I was like, I need to potentially find a place to go train. And then Jose Aldo made his debut in the UFC at UFC 129 in Canada. And Jose Aldo like blew my socks off. I was already a big fan of Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre, and then Jose Aldo like got into the UFC from the WEC, and I was like, I have to learn how to fight like this. Like I have to learn how to fight like this. So I made my trip to the Paradigm Training Center in Houston, which is a very very, very, very good and pretty well known MMA gym in Houston. Trained there for years and years and years, and eventually followed my favorite coach that I liked working with to his new gym when he started his own practice, which is White Tiger Muay Thai. It's been a little while just because I've been so busy. Also because I keep tearing my knee, keep tearing my knee in half. But my jiu-jitsu gym is Arca Jiu-Jitsu here in Sugar Land, and then White Tiger Muay Thai with Coach Morgan is my Muay Thai gym. But yeah, I've been a mixed martial artist, boxing, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, because I still fight very heavily with the Taekwondo style mixed in there because I've been doing it so long. It's just a part of who I am. Anthony Pettis, Stephen Thompson, Anderson Silva, they all have a touch of that as well. So I look to them a lot. By the way, just bragging rights here, I was a fan of Stephen Thompson before he was in the UFC, before he was even an MMA fighter. I used to watch him fight in Chuck Norris's Karate Combat League. That's how old I am, and that's how long I've been watching him fight. But anyway, yeah, I love mixed martial arts. And a lot of people ask me like, I got a tough question for you, bro. If you had to give up fishing or martial arts, which one would it be? It's like fishing, easy. Like I could go the rest of my life and not fish and be fine, but I cannot stop training martial arts. Is a huge part of my identity. This is just work, but martial arts is the core of my identity, so I cannot give that up. Anyway, that was a long answer to answer your question. Do I like to box? I never get asked about it. I never get asked about martial arts, and it's like my favorite thing in the entire world. The entire world. This is my favorite thing to talk about is martial arts, and nobody ever asked me about it on the YouTube channel. Anyway, by the way, also giving a big long answer like that lets more questions build up. So fishing friends and adventure says water. Yes, it's very important. Drink a lot of it. There's probably another comment that gave that context. Smokes 412. Hey, I gotta go pick up my son from his practice. Have a good night, buddy, and congratulations to the winner. Hope everyone has a wonderful night. I appreciate it. Davidson Lord says, when is the last time you went trout fishing? Will you go trout fishing? If you mean freshwater trout fishing, like rainbow trout and stuff like that, I did that in Idaho. It is on my Patreon, and or at least I think it's my Patreon. I can't remember if I uploaded that footage. We caught a bunch of trout to use as bait, and I can't remember if I uploaded that footage or not, but I need to. But anyway, Idaho was the last time I did it. If you mean saltwater trout fishing, I don't do a lot of that just because I don't do a lot of salt fishing in general, or saltwater fishing in general. And I don't know. My core audience likes bigger fish. Trout are immensely popular, but I typically find that when I put them on the YouTube channel, nobody watches it. So when I do fish for trout, it's on the Patreon page. I was thinking about doing a marsh fishing video when it gets a little bit warmer. Catch some trout, might end up on the channel. Let's see. Is March when GARs start getting active again? Yeah, again, a lot of this is temperature driven and water level driven. So alligator gar, they need floodplains to breed. They need to be able to move into flooded areas, shallow, like when your riverbanks flood over. Again, I talk about not liking the flood problem here in Houston very much, but it is very important for the breeding season for the alligator gar. And their breeding cycle really goes into overdrive when it gets warmer and when the floodwaters start kind of breaching banks into areas where they can access like vegetation, and they'll lay their eggs there. And you'll see them in the shallows, enormous fish exhibiting breeding behavior. It's really cool. But yeah, March is a good bet. Once we hit April-ish, that is when things really start kicking off. April. Let's see. Seungkyo. Let me know if I said that correctly. I always try to pronounce things as correctly as I can, and half the time I'm right, half the time I'm wrong. Is it Jung or Young, like Jungian psychology? What's your favorite fish to catch? You're from Charleston, South Carolina, and recently discovered your channel, and I'm loving the passion for the wildlife and the sport of fishing. I appreciate it. My favorite fish to catch, I gotta go with the alligator gar. There is just something so cool about those fish. Even though there's other fish that have such a more dynamic fight, sturgeon have a more dynamic fight than alligator gar any day of the week. I would say when they're of comparable weight, stingray put up a tremendously more difficult fight than alligator gar do. But I just love knowing I have a huge gar on the line. I love it. Do you think if you made saltwater videos, they would do better than freshwater videos? No, I know from experience that they don't. It's not a theory. If you go back on my channel, you will see I have made saltwater videos. Guys, I've made like 440 videos at this point, over 5 years. And those are just the ones you see on the main channel. I've got like 50 videos at least on my Patreon, maybe more. And then I've got videos I've deleted, and I've made well over 500 videos. And saltwater videos, for me, do not do well. I get asked all the time why I don't do more saltwater videos. And it is because, on average, they perform, for me, very, very poorly. Now, the last video I uploaded was a saltwater video. It was the iguanas for bait. And I have faith that that one will pick up and start getting a good number of views because the thumbnail is so good. And the reason I have faith that that one's going to do well is because the title of the video, the theme of the video, the hook of the video, what will make people interested in that video has nothing to do with the environment I'm fishing in. It is entirely based upon what I'm using to fish with. So I could have done that same video in freshwater or saltwater. I don't think it would have changed the views that it will end up getting. But that aside, freshwater is what my subscriber base tends to respond to the best. That is why I don't do a lot of saltwater. I know what works for me. I know what doesn't. And saltwater typically does not. I think there might be 1 or 2 saltwater videos on my channel that got over 1 million views. One of them was one of the best videos I ever made. And by the way, the most lucrative video I ever made. And it got about 2 million views, which is weird because you think the one that made 10 million views would be the most lucrative, but no, it was the one that got 2 million because the way people view ads differs. However, I don't really count that as a saltwater video because I caught that shark under a dock in an estuary, like near a freshwater canal. It's like, doesn't really even count. So yeah, freshwater typically does much better for me. Houston, Texas fishing video says, hey wildlife, hello. Friends Fishing and Adventure says, I started my channel and doing first fishing video. Any advice besides bringing extra batteries and film everything? Well, those are 2 very good things to get right off the bat. A lot of people, when they start, and I'm speaking from experience, obviously, you will regret in the editing room not having shot extra video. So yeah, get as much as you can on camera. Shoot more B-roll than you think you will need. More extra footage for, putting in between the main frames of your film. Let me think. Any advice besides those for your first videos? Don't try to oversell the video in terms of your presentation. When you get more and more experienced, it gets easier to do that with a more naturalistic feel. But if it is your first time kind of presenting on camera, it's so obvious. It's so obvious when somebody is presenting for the first time. And in my opinion, it is off-putting. So if whatever your personality is, just make sure the camera is on when you are exhibiting the personality. That is my recommendation. Don't fake anything because people can see that from a mile away. Mile away. So yeah, extra batteries is good. Film more than you think you need to. And I would recommend first video. I'm trying to think if I would recommend this to you in your first video, if I want to wait for this. When I film, what I learned is helpful is I will have an idea of the theme of the video before I go. And what that will help me do is shoot footage, like B-roll footage, and be able to speak to the camera in such a way that will support the theme of the video, so that I kind of almost have it edited in my head beforehand. That, of course, can backfire. It can backfire in a big way because everything might just, go to shit, and then you have a whole bunch of footage that doesn't make sense for what ended up happening. So I would recommend holding off on that till you have a bit more experience. Yeah, extra batteries and filming everything. Don't try to oversell your video. Don't try to overpresent. Just let the camera capture your natural personality. Steve McQueen, great actor, said the camera either likes you or it does not. And the camera can change its mind, by the way, as to whether or not it likes you. But one of the fastest ways to make the camera dislike you is to oversell something. Fisherman83 says, what's up? Oh, I see what you're saying. HC Fishing said it was a joke. When you announced the winner's name, you said the wrong name. So you're saying that, yeah, okay, I get it now. Sorry, I thought it was like mispronouncing your name, and I was like, well, how am I supposed to pronounce it if I don't know how it's like the phonetic spelling of it? Of course, my typically me overanalyzing everything. Yeah, no, good humor. Catfish and bass. I feel like I've answered this question like 6 times already. If you're fishing for carp in the winter, use corn, canned corn. Javon Daniel says, Weldon, North Carolina, rockfish are strip bass capital of the world. 40 to 50 inch rockfish. Yeah, rockfish are cool. That's a big fish. 40 to 50 inches is no joke. Do you have to jig for those, though? Like you have to have access to a boat? Or is there some other method? BT. My wife boyfriend. Trying to figure out what part of that sentence I'm misreading. My wife boyfriend said I have to go to bed. Okay, well, don't argue with your significant other. Givens Delore says, freshwater for the trout. Yeah, the last time I did freshwater trout fishing was in Idaho. So when you saw those sturgeon videos that I was doing, I was in Idaho, and I did some trout fishing up there. Let's see. Fishing Fam says, I missed the live stream, but I'm watching it now. Yeah, well, guys, we are still live, so you didn't miss anything. You might have missed the announcement of the winner, which, by the way, guys, if you're just jumping on, you haven't heard who won. The winner of that package I put together, the rod, I'm sorry, not the rod, my mistake, the reel, the line, and all the terminal tackle, is Dan Mac 8382. But yeah, we're still live. The live stream is still going. Scared me for a minute. I had to look and make sure the little counter is going up there, but it is. What fish to you, this is from Davidson, Davidson Lort says, what fish to you has the biggest fight? The most dynamic, active fight, probably sturgeon. The most grueling fight that I dread, stingray. And I love stingray. I love to catch stingray. But the fight on those things is, I still have back pain from like 3 years ago from fighting a stingray on the wrong tackle. So it is absolutely, depending on what you mean. Sturgeon are like the fastest and they jump compared to their weight. Like they're the total package for an exciting fight. But if you mean like which of those fish are going to test your limits, stingray, a big stingray can do that. Although I will say, perhaps my new answer is grouper, because I've only hooked one and it blew me out of the water, quite literally. Absolutely destroyed me. So I feel like I need to have a rematch before I can really assess the fight of a grouper. I feel like I was just undergunned and overmatched and out of my field of expertise on that one. So I want a rematch before I decide where a grouper fall on that list. I keep trying to read people's comments in the format. It keeps going. Ubrikian says, "Yo, can you shout out my brother, Jorge Al Blanco?" There's always. Hang on a second. Look something up. Yeah, see, I'm smarter than that now. Everyone tries to get me to shout out stuff in foreign languages, and sure enough, it is some kind of child, like schoolyard child taunt or something. So no. If you've been watching since I had the red Jeep Cherokee, I don't have a red Jeep Cherokee. I have a um, red Jeep Patriot, and I still have it. So if you've been watching since I've had the red Jeep Patriot, that could have been yesterday. um, so yeah, still got it, man. Drip Drop says, "Say hi to me. Hello." Friends fishing and adventure. Good night, man. I'll catch one for you tomorrow. Hopefully, hook up on a gar, but I'll let a few cats out of Oyster Creek near Lake Jackson. Yeah, let me know how the fishing is down there. Last time I went down there, it was about 2 weeks ago. I wasn't fishing. I actually went down there to do a photo. I had to stage a photo in a location down there, um, and I was wondering how the gar fishing was. I just didn't get any bait in the water at the time. But yeah, let me know. Javon Daniel says boat or land rules make you use a barbless hook. Um, if you mean for, I don't know what fish you're talking about, but typically speaking, I do use barbless hooks. Not always, but the majority of the time, I will typically use barbless hooks. Are you talking about? Were you the one who was talking about rockfish? Yeah, barbless hooks for fishing for rockfish. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, barbless hooks really. There's the argument that barbless hooks will come out and then rehook in the middle of a fight. Some people say that happens, so you get multiple punctures. Um, and then, of course, the other argument is if you cut the line and lose the fish, the hook falls out. And I think if you were comparing the two, I think that should be the priority. Uh, the hook coming out when you lose the fish should outweigh the possibility it might come out back in. Like one of those, the fish will probably heal from, the other one could kill it. So I say probably barbless or at the very most a micro barbed hook, which is a thing. Like they make hooks, but the incredibly small barbs. Am I getting that Penn International? I don't know what I am going to get a larger reel because I am going back to that location for a rematch later this year. I don't know what kind of reel I want. Um, it probably depends on. I don't want to spend like $1,000 on a fishing reel, uh, not because I haven't done that before, but because I'm not going to fish that area very often. Like when I go there, it might be once, twice a year. So the cost needs to pay off, and it's a business. It's a business expense for me. So I would have to think about which one I could find probably used. Maybe a used Penn International, maybe a used Avid, like a larger Avid, like a much larger Avid. A Penn Senator 12-aught would be a good one. I don't know. I have to look around and see if I can find one for less than the usual going price because I don't want to go broke. Davidson Lort says, "Have you ever thought of a collab with someone?" Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple of collabs, guys. Done a bunch of collaboration work with uh, Alex from Buffalo Bay Fishing Champs, with the H-Town Anglers team, with Phil from Bites and Strikes. I've got a video I did with MDLR fishing. Obviously, all the sturgeon I caught with the tremendous help of Spencer from Terra Firma Tackle. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but I mean, it's still collab as far as I'm concerned. You know, like I've done some collabs in the past. It's again, it's a big scheduling problem. Collabs are not that easy to do in a state like Texas where everyone lives so far apart. Um, you know, it's just a matter of what I'm up to, what they're up to, and timing our adventures together. There are possible collabs I'm going to be doing soon. You know, it just depends on who is free and who is not, and how the weather's going, and what we're targeting on our respective channels. Let's see. Friends Fishing Adventure says gar slow but catfish thick. Yeah, that's typical for Texas winter. The catfish are active, but the alligator gar slow down dramatically. What is the estimated weight of the biggest fish I've ever caught? The biggest fish I've ever caught, I think still to this day, was that alligator gar. 8 feet 2 inches long with a girth of about 48 inches. The weight can vary on that kind of fish. So the largest, sorry, I'm looking at my dog. The largest alligator gar ever found was that one in Mississippi, 2011. I've talked about this so many times to so many people from around the world. It was 8 feet 5 3/4 inches long. It had about a girth of about 47, 48 inches. So it was that much longer than mine, and it had the same girth. And that fish weighed 327 pounds. Now, at the same time, there was a fish caught near Lake Sam Rayburn a few months ago that was about that much longer than mine, and it had a girth that I think was close to mine. It might have been the same. And that fish weighed like 286 pounds, something like that. So there's a wide amount of fluctuation you can get with a fish based upon a couple of factors, like how often it's eaten, how recently it's eaten, whether or not it's a gravid female is probably the most common determination of weight. But you can get a lot of fluctuation. But a alligator gar of the length that I caught and of the girth that I caught could weigh anywhere between 270-ish to 300. It is a very, very, very reasonable estimate based upon the fish that we have documented of that comparable length and girth. It is a very reasonable assumption that that fish was somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 pounds. And the only people who get mad about this are guides who, without a doubt, got asked a million questions by people trying to book them. Can I catch a fish as big as the one I saw in the news? It weighed 300 pounds. And then they get really mad because their answer is naturally going to be probably not. And then the other people who get angry are just people on Facebook who just have nothing better to do except to complain about alligator gar because they never caught one that big. People who catch alligator gar that big don't get mad about the fact that I said it was 300 pounds because they know it might have been. Granted, it might have been 270. Yeah, I don't care. It might have been 305. I don't know. I don't care. 300 is not a bad estimate for a fish of that size. It's definitely possible. So anywhere between 270 and 300, that alligator gar, still the biggest one I've ever caught. I caught a sturgeon that was of comparable length, but sturgeon are very long, lean fish, and they are kind of like sharks. They're a lot like sharks, actually. When you think about a shark's length or a sturgeon's length, so much of it is like the caudal fin on their tail. Whereas with an alligator gar, you have this barrel-shaped fish. Its head is, you know, with the exception of its bill, its head is massive. Its head is nearly as wide as the widest point of its body. And you have its body, and its body comes down to its tail. But that I'm going to go towards you now. Like, you're the fish's tail. The body comes down towards its tail, and there's not this tremendous taper over length. It's this very dramatic stop to the tail. So an alligator gar has if it has a tremendous girth, it has that tremendous girth throughout the entire body of the fish. That's why that fish could weigh so much. alligator gar in general can weigh so much for their length. Whereas a sturgeon is built more like a shark. Even a sturgeon that was 8 feet long would not weigh nearly that much because they have a much more gradual and I would say beautiful taper to their body in this tremendously long caudal fin. Um, so I caught a sturgeon nearly that long, but probably weighed closer to 150 pounds. And then I caught a stingray that was like 130, 140 pounds. I caught a nurse shark that was upper hundreds, probably 150 at least. It doesn't look as big in the video, but I think I only filmed it with the chest cam. So you're seeing my hands in front of the camera with the shark. See how big my hands look compared to my own head? But when you get here, that's not what it's really like. That will happen when you're filming a fish on your chest cam. So the camera, this is the fish. The camera is viewing the fish, but actually I'm going to do this reversed because you're the camera. So here's the fish, and then your hands and your arms are closer to the camera, and it makes this look so tiny. But in reality, it's not that small. So that nurse shark was enormous. It was well over 8 feet long, and it was probably upper hundreds, somewhere between 150 and 200 pounds. It was a tremendously large fish. That's why I laugh at people when they're like, just pull it up on the bank. It's like, first off, that thing weighed a lot more than me. Second, the bank in that situation was weird. If you look at it, it was like this dramatic, like almost a 5 foot slope straight up. It was a nightmare. But anyway, that's a different conversation. So those are some of the biggest fish I've caught. I've caught a good number of big alligator gar. What else? I feel like I'm missing something. I've caught bull shark over 100 pounds. Bull shark, gar, stingray, sturgeon. I don't know what else I've caught over 100 pounds. I think there's another species I'm just forgetting. Anyway, those are some of the biggest fish I've caught. Derek LeBlanc says, you've seen an 8-footer in a New Orleans canal. I believe you. I believe you. They are certainly that big out that way. So yeah, no, that is 100% possible. Okay, a couple of people are jumping on that weren't on before who won the giveaway. The giveaway prize went to the YouTube user, Dan, I keep forgetting the exact name. Hang on. It goes to Dan Mac 8382. Dan Mac 8382 is the winner. I haven't seen Dan's username come up on the stream, but I'll be sending him an email in just a minute. So Dan Mac 8382 is the user who won that prize. I do, if you didn't hear me say this before, I do appreciate everyone joining the giveaway, and we'll be doing another one soon. Let's see. Biggest fish, yeah. Your question in 2 parts here has different answers. Biggest fish I ever caught, that gar. Biggest fish I ever hooked, probably whatever tore my hand apart in the last video. If that was, especially if that was a grouper, because I've never hooked anything that moved off quite like that. If that was a grouper, that could have weighed 300-400 pounds. I don't even know. Or it just could be that, you know, it could have been a grouper that weighed 200 pounds and just has more power than a corresponding fish of the same weight in freshwater. Because that's normal. Saltwater fish, pound for pound, are typically much stronger than freshwater fish. Do I usually use weight when fishing for gar? No, I like to free line. I do not like weight on my setups. In fact, I've got one rigged right here. I'll show you. This is one I'm gonna play with. I haven't used this reel in a long time. I've been using it a lot for saltwater fishing. Again, all of that's on the Patreon. I did a huge video where I was fishing for I can't remember what they were. Like mackerel and damn, what is the name of that fish? Bluefish from shore in Pensacola. I was catching loads of those, getting tremendous bites on spoons. I was using this reel. I had 50-pound braid on it. Took that 50-pound off, put 80-pound on. Holds about 200 yards. Got a good deep spool. It's a lighter reel though. I don't know if you can tell, but this is a lighter reel than what I typically use. I put it on my medium heavy rod. I'm going to try to catch some gar on lighter tackle soon. But I typically tie my braid to mono, 4-wrap union knot with a lock, big swivel, braid, 500-pound braid, same thing I'm giving away down there. 4-wrap union knot with a Rizzuto twist lock, and then that comes down to my circle hook. And I typically never put weight on it because alligator gar are sensitive, and in my opinion, which I'll just say it, my expert opinion, they don't like weight. They tend to respond poorly to pulling a weight behind their body. Like they'll pick up a bait, and if they feel something pulling on it, they'll be like, "What is happening?" And then they don't always spit out the bait. What's his name? That one guy, the alligator gar guide, Bubba Bedry, has a whole system where he uses weights to turn J hooks down into the lower jaw of alligator gar. So he has a whole system based on weights. But I find personally, alligator gar are more likely to spit a bait when they feel an artificial weight on the end. That's why when I let a gar run, a lot of people will be like, the gar will be running, and I will be actively pulling line off the spool. And a lot of people will be like, bro, you don't have to do that. Just let them pull the line off the spool. And it's like, no, the further out they get, not only are they dealing with the line dragging through the water, but this pressure of pulling line off the reel becomes more and more noticeable to them the further out they get. If I pull the line out ahead of time, it helps to alleviate both points of pressure. It makes it much less likely that the fish is ever going to feel that weight that he's pulling. And that's what I want. I don't want that fish to ever know the hook is in his mouth until I set it. So yeah, I don't like weights for alligator gar fishing. Davidson Lord says, Fanatic almost beat your PB gar, 8'1". Yeah, well, almost only counts in hand grenades and horseshoes, so better luck next time, kiddo. He also stole the title to my video, too. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Derek LeBlanc, I feel like I already read that. Some of these comments are repeating themselves. I don't know if people think I missed them, or if for some reason they're getting duplicated when you type them in, which wouldn't be your fault at all. But seeing an 8-footer in a New Orleans canal, yes, I said before, I believe you. They are big out that way. The Gar Lab, actually, Dr. What's his fucking name? God damn. David, hang on. I forgot his name. I've talked to him like a load of times. I can't remember his name. Anyway, the Gar Lab is based out of Louisiana. Great conservation work that they are doing. For those of you who are just tuning in and you think you missed the giveaway announcement, I've said it a few times. I'll say it again. It went to a user with the name DanMac8382. DanMac8382 has won the giveaway for the reel and all the terminal tackle odds and ends. I'll be sending him an email notice in response to the email they sent in to me with a screenshot proof, and I'll be getting those out to you sometime probably early next week, and it's going to be a great fishing package. We will do another giveaway very soon. Another giveaway coming very soon. But for now, DanMac80... God, every single time I forget this. DanMac8382 is the winner of this giveaway this time. Tiara's World of Vacuums. I just got back from alligator gar fishing at Clear Creek in Friendswood. Had 5 runs in a span of about 30 minutes. That is not bad at all. Not bad at all. Clear Creek, yeah, I've been told that when it widens out, like down towards Johnson Space Center, that it has some really good fishing in it. I've been told it has really good flathead, too, down in that area. Oh, what did I do? Stop. I accidentally clicked on somebody's comment like I was trying to delete it, and just I accidentally hit it twice on accident. SIC 129 or SIC 129 says, ever fish down the Corpus or Mathis area? Yeah, a few times. I just didn't catch anything, so the film didn't end up on YouTube. I did some jetty fishing down in Corpus Christi. Just no bites. Brady Baxter, is the commercial fishing destructive to ocean habitats? And if so, should it be done away with? I've heard mixed information on this topic depending on the source. Yeah, commercial fishing is horrifically damaging. There is no legitimate source that would argue with that, only corporate sources or sources with capitalist interests in the what do you call it? See, I'm getting tired. You can hear my voice starting to dry out too. Um, Commercial fishing. There we go. Commercial fishing has so many people invested in it monetarily, and those are going to be the people who defend it one way or the other. But yes, it is undisputable. There is no legitimate argument to say that commercial fishing does not do an enormous amount of damage to the environment. Trawling specifically, overfishing. There have been many estimates that essentially overfishing in combination with pollution, we're going to end up with this nasty combination in about 30 years where there will be, in terms of weight, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. And by the way, fish does not mean fish you can eat. That is a separate category on its own, so make that even smaller. So yeah, commercial fishing is absolutely horrific. I think it is the Monterey Bay Aquarium has or had a program. The Monterey Bay Aquarium in California had a program where they would, I think they might still do this, put out a tremendous amount of information on various seafood dealers in the United States, where they would basically have this guide for you to get sustainable seafood. And yes, that can be inconvenient, but having an ocean depleted of fish is much more inconvenient, or much less convenient in the end. So yeah, commercial fishing is absolutely horrific. Every single method of commercial fishing that people have come up with thus far has had numerous drawbacks, to the point that it is almost, I mean, it's kind of like an unstoppable monster. But as far as environmentally, there's really no friendly way to do it. There's no friendly way to do it. And obviously, overfishing, we have so much more being taken than what can be sustained and even used. So much food, guys. And this goes into terrestrial, gathering of and production of food too. So like farming, so much food, specifically in the West, is absolutely wasted, thrown out every single day. Just tons of it. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that, like literal metric tons of food is thrown out on a daily basis all over the United States, because we overproduce, overconsume, and just waste. It's just absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. It'll be the more you look into that topic, the more upsetting it gets. But yeah, if you're interested in sustainable seafood, guys, I think they still do the project. The Monterey Bay Aquarium had a really good guide a few years ago for how to find sustainable seafood. Corbin Shipley says, I subbed. I appreciate that. Thank you. Chero's World of Vacuums. I landed a 7'4" gar in Clear Creek about an hour ago. Damn, nice. That's awesome, man. That is a hell of a fish. Fish like that has got to be cracking 200 pounds, or at the very least it could be cracking 200 pounds. That is a tremendous animal. Let's see. RTYGG GGUUH. I see. I'm trying to pronounce some of these names, and I know I'm going to butcher it. I'm also not sure what you're saying. Char by good. I don't know what that means. Maybe. That's my response when I don't know. Maybe. Fishing with Irving. I got a question. Well, put it down below, and I will see if I can answer you. Christian Mercado says, what's up, Peyton? My favorite part of your videos, when something random happens, and the things that are unexpected, I'm referring to the good, LOL. You're referring to the good, LOL. Cannot wait for next video. Yeah, good or bad, as long as the camera is running, has kind of become my life's motto. Basically, you just want your camera going when something happens, because you can sell almost anything on camera. Doesn't have to be good. People watching don't care if something good happens, as long as it's entertaining. I prefer it when it's good, but yeah, as long as we get entertaining content on camera, I'm a happy man at the end of the day. So yeah, random things do help quite a bit sometimes. HC Fishing says, "What is my go-to lure?" On the whole, I like two kinds of lures. I love soft plastics for their versatility, but I like a suspending for most saltwater fish. I would say I like a suspending twitch bait from Miralure, the little mullet imitators with the bleeding belly. Really, really good. I love those. Those are my most successful lure when I'm fishing for like trout and red drum and stuff. For most any other species, I prefer soft plastics, and I work with damn, Salt Strong. I work with Salt Strong, and I use their soft plastics on a regular basis, and they work very, very well. Fishing with Irving says, "How do you put the line on a spinning or casting reel nice and tight?" Well, this is what I was doing last night. I think all my gear is in the car, but basically, what I do is, I typically will get the line. I've got a rod right here. I don't know if you guys knew what I was fiddling with, but typically what I'll do is I'll have my rod and reel in hand, and let's get our line running through the line guide, and then I don't put it all the way through the end of the rod. Here's what I do. I will take the line from the spool. If it's a multiplier reel, I'll put the spool down on the ground, mirroring the position of the multiplier. So if the multiplier is turning this way and line is coming clockwise, if it's turning this way and line is coming off the top of it, it's going over the top onto my my multiplier reel. So imagine both spools are turning the same direction with line moving over the top of each. And it's a little bit easier when you have a multiplier reel. I will run a rod of some kind, maybe like a coat hanger wire or some kind of like wooden dowel through the spool of the line, and I will take my shoes off and actually use my bare feet to kind of control it. And you just keep it under steady pressure, and it'll take some time, but you reel it on under pressure to get that nice even, that's the key, even pressured line set on your reel. Because what will happen is if you have loops on your spool, let's say for example, I'm reeling line onto the spool tightly, and then I kind of let up for a minute, and then I go back to doing it tightly. There's going to be a little coil in there that is looser than the rest of it. And when a fish is running, especially if it's a fast fish, let's say you hook into a sturgeon, it's running, it's taking all that line off the clutch that is packed on there consistently, and then it hits that loose spot. That is going to be a shock on the line, and a big fish can break your line right there. So that's how I put it on for multipliers. You can use like tape for a backing, or you can do like a mono backing just to make sure it doesn't spin. But for spinning reels, it's a bit more difficult. I will typically, you gotta turn your spool on its side, so when the line comes off the coil, it's going to be twisting. You want it to go onto the spool. Just look at the way the line is twisting. You want it to go onto the spool so that the line is not doing this corkscrew, because again, that compromises the strength of your line, your ability to cast. You'll get wind knots. You want it to uncoil itself and go onto the spool of your spinning reel in such a way that there is no twist in the line. So what I'll do with a spinning rod, because here's one, I will get my gloves on, and if you don't have good gloves, I will use a sock. I will put my hand in a sock and double layer it, and what I'll do is, especially with braid, this is really hard to do with braid without a glove on. If you tie your line on, you get your backing on. Some of these reels, they come with a little rubber seal on the spool in the middle, so you can tie braid right to it. I will go loosely around my hand like that. I'm not tightening it down. it's just going around my hand once. I've caught a magnet. Look, I caught my magnetic flashlight. So anyway, I don't put my feet on the spool of line. That's not necessary. You're letting the line come off the top, but I am running the line around my hand like this with a big thick glove on, and I usually hold it at the length of the first what do you call it, eyelet. So if you're too close, watch this. I'll show you right here. If you're too close, watch how easily this will kind of like tangle itself as you go around here. Your hand is, look how hard this is going to be. See how low the line gets down to the spool? It's, oh yeah, there it is. It happened. It'll tangle itself so easy. Now we're in a tangle. Boom. Make sure you hold your hand out at arm's length up here as you do this. Put pressure on the line as it goes around your hand loosely with a glove or a sock, and you've got to reel that sucker on until it is consistently packed on to the appropriate amount. Don't overfill your spool, because then you're going to get a nasty wind knot when you cast. It is hard work. It is not fun, especially when you start getting into bigger reels and you're putting on hundreds of yards of line. But there's very, very few things that are more satisfying than having a reel with fresh line on it. Just don't let that little loose spot get in there. That will ruin your day. When a fish cracks that, it's awful. Davidson Lord says your biggest fish is an 80-pound sturgeon. That's good fish. Good fish. I can tell you from experience, they fight. Yeah, so I can appreciate that catch. That's good fish. Adrian Quinona says, damn, I missed it. Yeah, guys, if you missed it, the giveaway, the prize went to a user, Dan Mac 8382. Has won the prize, but don't worry because we will do another giveaway soon. Derek LeBlanc says, do you plan on fishing Southeast Louisiana in 2024? Yes. I've got a couple of spots around New Orleans picked out that I want to try. I'm going to do a couple of overnights in a spot that I found. I don't want to give it away here, but it's there's a couple of really cool areas, abandoned areas that I found that you have to kayak to, because they're abandoned like in a swamp surrounded by water. Really cool. And I'm going to do a couple of overnight videos in these creepy abandoned areas, exploring and fishing. I just wanted to warm up a bit because Louisiana is fantastic for gar fishing when it gets warmer. And there's also an area that is loaded with bull sharks. And I'm going to go fish that area too. But I want the temperature to rise a little bit first. But yeah, Louisiana. Guys, I've said this before. I will take literally any excuse I get to go to New Orleans. If somebody could just be like, hey, I have a thing in New Orleans. I'll go. I love that city so much. Noemi Almanzar says, love your videos. Been following since the start. I appreciate that. That longevity of loyalty is really important to me. I appreciate that. Have I ever caught a spoonbill? I assume you mean the fish, like a paddlefish, and not the bird. No, I haven't. I haven't had a chance to go fishing for those. I found some spots where they are reported to be in abundance, but typically you have to snag those fish, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I have to think about it a little bit. TR's roll of vacuums. Try to catch an alligator gar on a big whopper plopper. Also, to raise your own baby gar too. Yes to the first one. I have some really big topwater lures I'm going to throw at gar this year when they start becoming really active in shallows. I don't want to try to raise one. maybe when I finally end up getting a house instead of an apartment, I'll build a pond in the backyard and have one there. Because, God, that would be so amazing to have just content I could film in my backyard. Oh, God, that would be so amazing. Don't have to go out and beat myself half to death in 100-degree heat. Cut literally every piece of skin off my hands and get stabbed by 100 things, getting heat stroke. Just go into the backyard and film the pet gar eating minnows or something. That'd be amazing. Fish Camp TV. The Pogie boats aren't helping either. What are they not helping with? Let's see. The same user spamming comments. I've been getting that a lot. I don't think what you're doing is intentional. It's a couple of people who've been commenting, and the comment gets duplicated, so that could have been what's happening there. Are you Alwi Harahap? Is that how you say it? You're from Indonesia. I appreciate that so much. I would love to go to Indonesia. I get so much love and support on this channel from Indonesia. An enormous amount of my fan base is from that region, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. I said before I've been turned down by sponsors because so much of my viewership is from outside of the United States, and I don't care. I don't care about the sponsor turning me down. Having viewership from outside the United States is so cool to me. To know that the show that I produce reaches people from around the world and I get support from all these different people in all these different countries is so cool to me. So your support from Indonesia is just the best. Thank you so much. I really would love to go out there sometime. Cheers, Roll. The Vacuum says you were using 50-pound mono with a 100-pound leader. I didn't have any circle hooks, unfortunately. I had to use a treble, but I was able to get the hook out successfully. At the end of the day, if you're able to get the hook out, that's what matters most. That's what matters most. So that's really cool. That's still a great fish, though. Man, that would be so cool. 7'4" alligator gar. That is a tremendous animal. Great catch. Hang on a second. Pulling up. 2 seconds while I type something in here. Translating something. Says, hello, I am German. I think Billy says, hallo, ich bin Deutscher. Hallo, ich bin Deutscher. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. I'd love to learn German. German is like the most beautiful of languages, that and Japanese. But I believe if Google Translate is to be trusted, it says, hello, I'm German. Hello. I've got a lot of German in my family. Texas was, I hate to use the word settled because basically settled is code for a bunch of white people drove out a bunch of indigenous people. So settled with massive quotations by a lot of German folks back in the day. So there's a lot of families in Texas, like my own, that has a lot of German heritage. And like I said before, I really do think German is one of the most beautiful of languages. Stone Guitar says, fresh, salt, or brackish? Any advice for sharks? Yeah, I answered a similar question that somebody put out there on one of my last live streams. Watch YouTube watch YouTube channels that are more into shark fishing and better at it than mine. Hang on, I'm gonna fix something. There we go. H-Town Anglers, some of the best. I would recommend watching their videos and looking at their how-to information and go from there. Because I could give you like little tips and pointers, but why listen to me when there's another channel that I will endorse as being far superior to my own in regards to how to catch sharks. They are excellent at it. Cobra Jones says, do you think that the grouper on that run was over 200 pounds? I have a cousin that landed one almost 400. I do, because that area has a particular grouper that people know about. Like, he has a reputation, that fish does. And a couple of the guys out there were saying, like, yeah, that one grouper lives here. Like, they know it. And I've seen videos of it being caught before, and it was close to 400 pounds. Now, it could have been a different fish. It could have even been a different species. There's no guarantees, because I never saw it. There's no guarantees it wasn't a giant shark of some kind. it would have to have been a huge shark. Because I've caught sharks well over 100 pounds, and they did not fight me like that. It would have to have been an absolutely massive shark. But that is a possibility. And either way, it was a fish into the multiple of hundreds. But yeah, if it was a Goliath, it's like a Goliath that people in the area are actually familiar with. He has a reputation. And some of the guys were saying that, like, hey, if that is that grouper, it is probably close to 400 pounds. But we'll never know because I didn't catch it. I will on the return, though. We're going to go back. We're going to get him. Let's see. Cher's World of Vacuums down by Nassau Bay by Johnson Space Center. There can be some baby blacktip sharks if you get lucky. Yeah, that zone it's one of these areas, like you see this a lot with estuaries. In addition to being a great spot to fish, typically you have a smaller body of water widen out tremendously and become very hard to approach from the land. On a boat, you can explore and fish it, but from the land, it becomes very hard to find good access points when a estuary starts spreading out and widening out. So I would love to explore that area. I'll just have to really study the map to know exactly where to go. You had a 5 HC fishing because you had a 5-foot gar and a jerkbait. That sounds like a blast. It's always fun when you can catch larger fish on lures, especially fish that traditionally aren't typically known to take lures. Stoner Guitar says I can use them kind of reels. I had 5. This is the same commenter, Stoner Guitarist. I had 5 on live mullet, on 6-inch half one on live. Then I had a gar hit on the croaker. Yeah, gar will eat a wide variety of fish. But mullet is one of the better baits you can use in this area because just mullet are so common. It's likely the gar eating quite a lot of them. And then as you get further inland, you're going to want to shift to things like buffalo and stuff like that. Cooper Jones says it'll cause the loose line of leer to embed. Were you talking about when I was talking about how to spool a line? Yeah, it's that'll break your line as well. In fact, after a massive fight with a big fish, I would recommend pulling that line, off the spool and then re-reeling it back down because that can break your line. When you fight a big fish and you lose that fish, let's say, or even if you catch the fish, if you throw your bait back out there and you get another bite, you have that drag peeling and that pressure from that other fish. This is the spool. That line got itself embedded in there, so when it's reeling offline and it hits that can almost be like somebody pulling back on the line, almost like there's a knot, and that can snap your line. What I've learned over the years about just fishing in general, fishing tackle in general, be obsessive compulsive with your gear, and you will have a lot less heartbreak when the fish is on. More time spent in prep is less time crying over escaped fish. Whew. Miss Oni gives a wave emoji. Hello. Thank you for tuning in. Hi from Indonesia. Again, thank you so much for your support from Indonesia. I have so many incredible subscribers and supporters in Indonesia, and it means the world to me. I desperately want to visit that part of the world. Not just because it's awesome, but because I feel like it's an enormous debt of gratitude to people in that region. I get so much support on my show from that part of the world, from Indonesia and other countries in Southeast Asia. So thank you for your support. It really does mean the world. Fish with H says hello. Again, wave emoji. Thank you for tuning in. Brady Baxter says, you mentioned in the past live stream how conservation is often used as an excuse for hunting. Can you expand upon that? Some say that hunting as population management and funding is good for conservation. I came up with an analogy for this a few weeks ago, having a different conversation with somebody, another expert in the field. And The way I would describe hunting for conservation as being good for population management, and then the second part is all that really matters, is raising funds. Um, Here's how I would describe this. Imagine you have somebody with multiple glasses of water around their house. All right, it's like the movie Science, right? You have multiple glasses of water around their house, and somebody, actually, it's a shared house because the world is our shared house, right? Somebody knocks over the glass, and let's say they did it intentionally. They knock over the glass of water, and it spills on the floor. Then they walk over to another glass of water, and they push it over, and it spills on the floor. And they keep doing this. And you said, all right, we have to get this to stop, and we have to clean up the water off the floor. And you said, our number one priority is that you stop spilling the water. And they say, no, I'm not going to stop knocking over glasses of water. And you can't make them stop. So then your priority is like, okay, if I cannot force them to stop knocking over the glasses of water, I need to clean the water up. You say, give me a mop. And they say, no, you can't have a mop. It's against my I think it's a restriction of my freedoms for you to use a mop, something, bullshit like that. It's a sign of the end times if you use a mop. I don't agree with all that liberal nonsense of using a mop, things like that. So you can't use a mop. So you say, well, if I can't use a mop and you're not going to stop knocking over the glass of water, can I have a rag or a paper towel? And they go, no, I don't want you to use that either. That's so inconvenient for me. I don't want to do that. Then they say, here is a straw. Use the straw to suck the water off the ground. But you need to pay me for the straw. So pay me money for the straw, and I'll give you a straw license, and you can have the straw, and you can use the straw to suck the spilled water off the ground. And since you have no other alternatives being provided to you by the authorities, you say, oh my God, I'll do whatever's necessary, give me the straw. You start sucking the water off the ground. Then they do a study, and they say, look, our study concludes that sucking water off the ground with a straw reduced the amount of water on the ground. Therefore, we can conclude that not only did it help us raise money, which we spent on, most of it goes to people's pockets. And I don't mean that like secretly or illegally. I mean like literally it pays people's salaries and their bonuses and things like this. I'll get to more of that in a minute. They say not only did we raise money with the straws, but studies have proven that the straws reduce the amount of water on the ground. And then they keep spilling glasses of water. And that is how hunting helps conservation. Basically, you have all of these problems, whether it's displacement of a native predator, or you have fragmentation of habitats, you have cities encroaching into animal environments, you have natural resources being destroyed, you have agriculture taking the place of natural environments that these animals need to live, on and on and on and on and on, the vast majority of which is not necessary. People always throw out the argument like, well, we can't stop people from, the population from growing. It's like, no, but you could easily stop the method by which it negatively affects the environment. Those are not the same thing. The population growing does not inherently negatively affect the environment. Those are choices that are made in a capitalist system with no regard to the environment, only regard to profit for shareholders. And by the way, that applies to state legislatures and to conservation organizations. Conservation organizations are very much for-profit at the top and mission-minded nonprofit at the bottom. But anyway, people will say like, they'll cause all these problems in the environment. They will stop any effective means. They'll refuse to stop causing these problems. They will stop any mobilization of effective means of solving the problem under the guise of it being too radical. And you have people using like political dog whistles to try to, they're gonna take away your freedom of this, your freedom of that. It's liberal conspiracies, it's commie nonsense, like basically McCarthy style dog whistles to scare people out of accepting the actual solutions for conservation. And then they say, well, we could do this. If you pay us money, you can have this straw a hunting license and a gun or a bow or whatever it is, and you can go shoot this animal that we deemed overpopulated to control the population, and that's conservation. It's like they won't stop causing the damage. They turn a blind eye to every actual answer. And then they say, well, let's go down here to the straw. And then they'll do a study that says, just like it helps pick up the water off the floor, like it helped manage the population. Therefore, hunting is good for conservation. It's like, not really, though. It's like you are ignoring all the actual answers that would fix this problem. And most of the time, they're ignoring the answers that would fix the problem because it would cost somebody money out of their pocket. And this is not like conspiratorial thinking. This is just the way capitalism destroys initiative in the conservation world. I've been in this business a long time. I can tell you this is how it works. So hunting helps conservation the same way sucking water off the ground with a straw helps get the water off the ground. There is a number of ways that are being ignored that would be your prerogative to solve this problem, and you are only being given this one solution because it doesn't ruffle feathers politically. It raises money instead of costs money, even though conservation, for fuck's sake, it is the only world we got. It's the only environments we have. It should not be your prerogative to use it to raise money. Yes, I know conservation programs cost money. Our tax dollars, are in the hundreds of billions. It should go to that. It should go to making sure that our rivers don't get so polluted that it poisons the soil around it, not to making sure the Air Force can buy another $10 billion experimental jet that, is going to be used to bomb somebody on the other side of the world. Look, let's get our goddamn priorities correct before we start going down this massive list of actual proper methods for effective conservation and then settle on this idea that, it must be hunting is the only way. It's such a scam. It's such a scam. So yes, it is effective. The same way sucking water off the ground with a straw is effective. They're ignoring the real solutions and picking the one that they think will A, not ruffle feathers, B, raise a little bit of money, because at the end of the day, the people at the top of the conservation industry, that's all they care about. I know that is depressing, but I've been doing this for a long time, and conservation in general works like this. You are told entering in the industry, and you are told within certain positions in the industry, that it is mission-minded, typically nonprofit or government-funded, and it is all about the mission. And then as people go up the ladder, you'll notice that is not the main concern anymore. It is entirely about positioning themselves in positions of influence and power and making money. I know zookeepers who... how to say this? I don't want to name anybody specifically, but we've had a couple now, so you'll be guessing at who it is. But one of the CEOs of the zoo that I worked for, and there was some turnover over the years, so I'm not going to name names, made, and this was public information, $300,000 a year. As that was happening, there were zookeepers at the Houston Zoo that I knew, that I was friends with, who had to eat canned vegetables, canned green beans out of the can, the 50-cent cans you see like this, the ones that I use these days for carp fishing. They would eat those as their food, as their meals, because they could barely afford to survive. And they were also working other part-time jobs in addition to killing themselves at work as a zookeeper. The pay scale in conservation institutions is absolutely fucking ridiculous. The people at the top line their pockets. I knew somebody, and I will not name this person, but I knew somebody who didn't even have a real position. Like, they had a real title, but when you actually looked at what this person did, they didn't do much of anything. And I am by far not the only person who would call that individual out. They didn't do anything of use. You could eliminate their position like that and nothing would change. And in fact, I think they did and nothing changed. And that person was making 70 grand a year, which at a nonprofit that pays people so little that they have to eat canned vegetables for doing the actual work that forms the foundation of the industry is absurd. It is absurd. You could hire 3 more people on that salary and pay them significantly more than what they are currently making. But instead, you give it to someone for basically kissing other people's asses. That is so infuriating. The conservation industry is like my background, it's my passion. There are so many incredible, wonderful people doing amazing work all over the world. And then there are also a bunch of people who are just absolute garbage involved. And that's true of any industry, really. There's this thing, there's this great documentary I'm going to recommend called Waking Sleeping Beauty. And it is about Disney's transition from live action films in the 70s, like Swiss Family Robinson and stuff like that, in the 80s, into their kind of like peak, their heyday of the 90s, when they were like making The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, and Beauty and the Beast, stuff like that. When Disney kind of became the modern concept that we have of it. And there's a quote in it that says, you think of like this magical mission-minded place as being this utopia, but the truth is wherever there are people, there are people's problems. And that has always stuck with me, and that is absolutely true of the conservation industry. And I think the is hunting conservation discussion is a product of that. That's why I kind of got into this rabbit trail. I think the hunting as conservation is a product of incredibly greedy people, lazy people, unmotivated people, and people afraid to challenge political and religious institutions on what they want to see and hear. It is a result of those people. And we lost connection for a minute. It is a result of those people being in power and making decisions rather than the people who actually have conservation's best interest in mind. That was a long answer. You always ask me the questions that I'm most passionate about. I think I swore like 5 times in that answer. It's a touchy subject for me. It's a touchy subject for me. Try fishing with an old-fashioned reel. I should do that. I used to have some. I used to have some really old pen reels. I think I gave them away. I don't think I threw them away. I think I gave them away. My memory escapes me. But yeah, no, that'll be fun. Fernando says, hi from Brazil. My girlfriend and me love your videos. Thank you so much for tuning in from Brazil. Again, add it to the long list of countries I would love to visit someday. I absolutely, I can't say I love Brazil in the sense that I've been there, but I would love to go there. I'd love to go to Brazil. Beautiful country, beautiful environment. The birthplace of jiu-jitsu, which is, one of my passions. Probably the apex of freshwater fishing. Is the Amazon and tributaries of the Amazon and some of your neighboring countries like Guyana and stuff like that. It has some of just the most incredible animals in the entire world. Miss Oni says, but I live in Hong Kong. What is that a response to? Did you mention... I could have swore I saw you mention another country. And I think I was saying, I was responding to your comment as if you said, hello from Indonesia. And you said, but I live in Hong Kong. So I apologize if I misread your comment. It's hard to tell sometimes because people will comment and then like 30 more people will comment and then somebody will like put a second half of their comment in and it's like I've forgotten what you were talking about by that point, or it's like so many things have gone through my head I'm having trouble with the context. Yeah, Hong Kong is really, really amazing. Again, love that I have support from Hong Kong. That is so cool. Fish Camp TV, pogie boats aren't helping, brackets. The decimation of our fisheries, the bait boats tend to catch redfish or other fish which end up dead in their nets, leaving piles of dead fish. Oh, okay, yeah. basically trawling or net trawling type bait catching or commercial fish catching vessels that catch fish in mass. Yeah, you got to think about it. Think about humans as a predator. And I don't mean like give humans an excuse. I mean, think about humans the same way you think about a predator and compare. Is there a single predator in nature that can haul hundreds of yards length worth of space? Imagine like some kind of like shark that could open its mouth up to be hundreds of yards wide and eat everything in its path. Nothing like that exists in nature. Absolutely nothing like that exists in nature. Not even close. So nets and trawling boats and things like that, wild animals do not have a natural response on how to survive that type of pressure. They have never experienced it before humanity has begun to overfish the oceans, and they are not going to adapt to it because it's too much, too soon, too fast by too many people in too many areas of the world. That's why we see our oceans. I don't like to use the word fisheries because that implies that these environments exist for our benefit, and they don't. So I don't like to use the word fisheries. Humans could go extinct tomorrow, and these environments would still exist, but they would no longer be fisheries, would they? So I don't like to use that word, but yes, you are correct. That type of collection of animals in mass is never a good thing. Fish with H says, do you have a boat? I have a small 10-foot John with a 6 horsepower motor. I have a kayak. I have a Big Fish 120 kayak. It's a pretty nice kayak. I just haven't broken it out. I do have plans to use it. I'm going to start trying to catch a lot more alligator gar from kayak. Should be fun. Fishing with H also says, I caught a 22-inch bass 5 days ago. I have the video on my channel if you want to see. Yeah, send me a link. I would love to see that. I don't know how much that would weigh. This is 17 and a half inches right here, so a 22-inch bass. That's a thick fish. Fernando asks, any plan of traveling to fish in Brazil anytime soon? I was actually just thinking, I was planning. I was like working out costs and things of what my first international trip would be for the channel. Brazil is most certainly an option. I think because the first international trip that you do, there's so much that goes into it, and there's so much room for things to go wrong. Whatever my first international trip is would have to rely heavily upon what contacts I can build in that part of the world. But Brazil is definitely an option. Fishing with H says, what are you giving away? We did the giveaway a little while ago. The user DanMac8382 won the giveaway. It was this reel, Penn Fierce 4 Model 6000. It was 80-pound braid and 100-pound mono from Suffix. It was Team Catfish hooks and swivels. Floats from H&H, the 5-inch non-weighted slot floats, and the 500-pound Kevlar braid, all of which I used for alligator gar fishing. So it was basically, with the exception of a fishing rod, it was everything that I would use to catch alligator gar. That was the giveaway. And we'll do another one soon. Tiara's World of Vacuum says, Nassau Bay has an abundance of alligators in that area. Yeah. So if you go over there, be on the lookout. I will definitely be on the lookout. Can I live stream on a phone? This is from Kruby. Can I live stream on a phone? Yes, I am currently doing that right now. The camera on my phone is better than the camera on my laptop. So since I don't have like an external camera set up for my laptop yet, I've been doing live streams off my phone, and it works just fine. We'll get a better setup eventually, but for now, yes, I am using my phone, and so if you have a good phone, you can use it. I know my friend been there already. This is Cobra Jones speaking. I know my friend been there already, but that's how you learn. Tiara's World of Vacuums. I once caught an alligator gar on 20-pound mono, and he was around 5 feet long. It's an impressive catch. Icy Motovlong says Indonesia. Again, thank you so much for the support. Love the support I get from Indonesia. Be the Brave says I love it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sneaky Snack. I like that. Sneaky Snack says, "What's up, bro? What's my favorite animal? The American alligator is my favorite animal. Crocodilians in general. Probably the American alligator is my favorite. Snakes and certain types of fish come real close together after that. Of course, unless we're talking about my... Here she comes. What are you doing? Where are you going? Baby girl. She's scared of my... I'm trying to move my fishing rod. She's terrified of these. Which is not conducive at all to life in my house. Yeah, move these over here. Come here. Oh, come here. This is my favorite animal right here. Hang on. Say hi to everyone. Hi. Yes. Daddy gave us a haircut today. Baby girl, look over here. Say hello. Yeah. Your breath smells terrible. Thank you so much. This is my little 10-pound rescue poodle named Dolly. She is the love of my life and my favorite animal in the whole wide world. Yes, go. All right, get back down. All right, Derek says, greeting from H-Town. I love your videos, and I've learned a lot from them. I've been thinking of chasing after some bigger sharks with dropping bait from a kayak. Any tips? Be extremely careful. I would say what I've learned from the bigger sharks that I've hooked over the years is invest heavily in unhooking tools, T-bars and things like that. That is, I would say, where I have found myself in the most trouble, is not having adequate tools for the unhooking process. Definitely invest heavily in that. In fact, even with a small shark I caught maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago at this point, not having the right tools on hand to unhook it, I actually got bit by a black tip on my thumb and just tore right down through my thumb. It was nasty. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you see these long lines running down my thumb? Those are the teeth. Went right through my thumb. If a bigger shark had done that, it would bit my thumb right off. So invest in, first off, life jacket, like super heavy duty life jacket. Have cutting tools to cut that line, so a good knife. If you're going out into the deep waters, I would have, what is that type of radio they use? Hang on. Kayak fishing radio rules. KBF radio, I think is what they call it. No, is that what they call it? No. That's kayak bass. That's an acronym for kayak bass fishing. That's not that type of radio. What is that type of radio they use for like the kayak fishing? I don't know. Get yourself the whatever the standard operating radio is for deep sea kayak fishing. Maybe get one of those. Let people know where you're going in advance. Have proper safety gear. Have a lot of water with you, just in case you end up getting set off on a course that you can't get back from. Make sure your rod and reel are properly tethered to your kayak. They sell those. Don't try to rig it up on your own with, like, cheap rope or whatever. Actually spend the money on the proper setup. You can get those in a lot of shops. Yeah, and invest heavily in the proper unhooking tools. I would even go so far as to say fish barbless hooks. That way, at the very least, if you get broken off, the fish is not going to have a hook stuck in his mouth. Be safe on a kayak. And again, remember, I don't do a lot of kayak fishing, so if you want really top tier advice, talk to people who do it at a high level. All right, Tierra's World of Vacuum says, I've got to go, unfortunately. See you in the next stream. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate your support. What is your least... This is David again. Davidson again. What is your least favorite fish to catch? And you can't say turtle. Oh, well, it's not a fish. Hardhead catfish. That is not... Hey, relax. She gets so mad at the bin man. The bin... I know. She's whining. I know. Come here. The bin man needs... Come here, babe. The bin man needs WD-40 on his stupid cart. He does like this trolley, this big push trolley, to pick up people's trash from outside their door. And one of his wheels, like, desperately needs WD-40. You can hear him coming from a mile away. and my dog does not like it because her hearing is like 10 times better than mine. Actually, her hearing is like 10 times better than somebody with good hearing. My hearing is not that good anymore. But yeah, hardhead catfish is easily my least favorite fish to catch. I cannot stand catching hardheads. They're a cool fish. I don't like them. In fact, when I was first trying to start a YouTube channel, I caught a hardhead, and this is unfortunately not on the channel. This footage never made it to the main channel because I hadn't really organized it at the time. This is before my first video. I caught a hardhead catfish, and the pectoral fin went. I'm trying to show you without launching my dog off the couch. Went through my thigh, so deep that I had to have my brother and my cousin help me do a 1, 2, 3 count and pull it out because that's how deep the pectoral fin went into my thigh, and they have those barbs on it, and it was absolutely horrific. I pointed to the wrong leg. It was this one. I still have the scar. I have a round scar on my leg from where that hardhead pectoral went clean into my leg and got stuck for a while. Fishing and Trucking says, when can we do some conservation here in Houston? You can do conservation every day. Conservation is a term that's going to have a lot of different definitions and ways in which you can participate in it. Conservation is kind of like saying philanthropy. Like, there's so many ways to go about doing that. Visit your local zoo and aquarium. Donate to the World Wildlife Fund. There's clean up a bayou. Just practice good, safe catch and release, and be outspoken about the proper ways to catch, release, handle fish, and champion the success and the growth of their natural ecosystems. Like, you can go from 0 to 1,000, and it's all worth something. So when you say, when can we do some conservation here in Houston? Here's what I'd recommend. The Houston Zoo, actually, hey babe, I have a zoo question that I don't know the answer to. You might know this, I don't know. Where does the zoo list, and how often do they do the jetty cleanups? Is that a thing that still is led by the Sea Lion team?
They do them. They don't list them online. I think
Are they open to the public, or is it just the zoo team?
If you're at the jetty when they're there.
Okay.
But they don't like advertise, we're going to the jetty today.
Okay. What? I was gonna say the Houston Zoo does do jetty cleanups, but I mean, look at organizations like the Houston Zoo. Big organizations. They're gonna have a lot of information. Houston Zoo, Moody Gardens, things like that. They're gonna have conservation resources on their website, in their institutions. They're going to have tips for you on how you can involve yourself in that world. Jesus Suniga, that's my brother-in-law. If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, I think part of requiring a license to fish and to hunt is so that idiots don't end a whole species in a matter of months. Yeah, unfortunately, that still happens, though. That's the problem. The idea that like hunting and fishing licenses stop people from overdoing it is like idealistic but not realistic. I appreciate that idea, and yes, it's like, here's the thing, there can be more than one purpose behind something. That can be true, while also it can be true that hunting and fishing licenses are kind of like just a way for the state to try to profit off of the destruction of an environment. Not like the active destruction, but off the existence of the problem of its destruction. It is a very lazy way to do conservation. I'll put it like that. Hunting for conservation, you got to remember, hunting for conservation is it's like, I made an analogy when I was giving a speech at Animal Con, that conservation is largely walking into a room, knocking over a vase, and then talking about how important it is that you and everyone you know works together to clean the vase up. Aren't we so good at conservation? It's like, you just don't break the vase in the first place. Again, these are all problems that we kind of create on our own. Again, why is hunting even necessary? Why is hunting even necessary? You know? So yeah, what you're saying can be true, while what I'm saying can also be true. They're not opposing ideologies. That can be a part of it, while what I'm saying is also a part of it. It's kind of like a good example is what they're doing with alligator gar fishing. The state is refusing to. They will not. They will not give alligator gar proper protections. They keep doing half measures, like, oh, you have to, if you catch one, you can only catch one a day and keep it. And if you catch one and you keep it, you have to report it. Or what? Or what? Nobody is out enforcing these rules. And even if there were, granted, you'll run into game wardens who will enforce rules. The majority of them don't, or they're selective in how they do it. I'll give you a story about a very disappointing encounter that I did not have with a game warden in a second. But essentially, these are rules that are not really being enforced. And it's kind of like a tree falling in the forest. If nobody calls and reports the alligator gar they caught, you don't even know that it happened. So if they do it twice, you don't even know that it happened. I kind of forgot the point I was trying to make. The alligator gar. I was trying to make an example of the way the alligator gar fishing is working. Kind of like just they string us along with unenforceable half measures, when in reality they could snap their fingers and make the proper changes. If as long as they were willing to lose a little bit of money and incur the wrath of religious and political groups that they don't want to mess with. Basically, a lot of conservation decisions are made based upon money and convenience for people in positions of power. Slovenia says hello. Is it Tavin or Thavin? Tavin Rodriguez says, hi, how are you? I watch you from Canada. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the support I get in Canada. Second Sight Toad says, you're the best. I don't know about that, but as long as people think I'm entertaining, I'll take that. Mike says, did I miss the giveaway? Yes, we did it right at the beginning. And I swear that alert came from behind my phone. I don't know. It sounded like that was just coming from behind my phone, but there's no phone over there. Yes, the giveaway, the winner was a user by the name of DanMac8382. DanMac8382 won the giveaway. If you have not won the giveaway this time, guys, don't worry. I will do another one soon. Days Official says, what's up, man? Not much, just trying to keep from losing my voice while I talk endlessly. Mike says, from Little Rock, Arkansas. Thank you for tuning in from Arkansas. Days Official says, Africa fishing, question mark? I would love to, but that is a heck of a trip. Heck of a trip. There's a guy I have been following closely who organizes trips twice, or I don't know if the word is twice a year, but kind of like two stretches of the year. I don't know how many trips he does in each one. But he organizes trips to the Congo for Goliath tigerfish and is extremely successful at it. I've been thinking about ringing him up, but we'll see. Gaigo, is that how you say it? Gaigo, Gaigo. Hi, hello. Happy Fun Time 1010 says hi. Hi. Dat Van. I see the shirt. How's working with PC Fun? I don't work with PC Fun. I'm just wearing the shirt. Bonnie Smith says, what's your thoughts on using small hooks for alligator gar? If it works and if it's safe, I recommend doing it. When I keep getting back and forth, like up and down to get these rods and reels. I just need to put them within arm's reach. When I use hooks, a lot of people will say like these hooks are too big because they do look rather large in comparison to what a lot of people use. The advantage of me using this is that it never makes it into the alligator gar's throat. It never gets that far. It gets not quite here, but here. That is where I get that fish. By virtue of having this wide circle hook, it never gets that deep. The moment you switch to a J hook, you probably are going to get your hook relatively deep. And if you are using a J hook, Number one, barbless. Number two, it's small. So I would say that is a good thing to do if you're using a J hook. Ellie says, "Have I ever caught?" Ellie says, "Have I ever caught a walleye?" Unfortunately, not. I'd love to though. Really cool. Walleye and Xander are really cool fish. Cobra Jones says, "Need a new fishing rod for a big pen battle fishing reel. You have any recommendations for heavy action rods? Denali bottom feeders or Big Cat Fever rods? Really, really good for spinning action rods." Or you can go custom. There's a group that does good custom rods. They gifted me one, and it's one of the best rods I've ever used. Um, Brackish Water Customs from down in Corpus Christi area. Brackish Water Customs. They do tremendous custom rods. Fernando says, "Thanks for read and answers on the messages. I appreciate that. Absolutely. I appreciate your support." Cobra Jones says, "Spinning reel." You're clarifying you have a spinning reel. I figured that's what you're talking about when you said the Penn Battle, because I think those are all spinning reels. Yeah, the two rods, or the potentially three I mentioned, I would say are my favorite if you're fishing for big freshwater fish. Let's see. Days Official says Brazos River is infested with alligators. I wouldn't use the word infested. It is their natural habitat. So infested, not really. There's a lot of them there, but they're supposed to be. And there's a lot of people out there who would say that we have to control their population by hunting them because there's so many. There's supposed to be so many. There's supposed to be. What there's not supposed to be so many of are people. Is it Marte? Is that how you say your name? Marte? Hit the no, I had a bad experience. If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, I got very, 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 very high in Colorado once by accident. And it is not my cup of tea. So if there are people out there who are into that, go for it. I mean, most of the times when you're in like a Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu gym, you can smell it like on half your training partners. But it is just not personally for me. No, it did not go well. I can tell you that. I did not enjoy the experience. Derek says, "Oh, absolutely. I already have lots of gear for safety." Oh, you're talking about the kayak stuff. "I have my life jacket that I already trust in my life, and I'll for sure invest in some good long dehooking tools." Yeah, that's the one I would recommend really, really investing in. Seen a lot of videos of guys getting their hands caught by sharks, losing fingers. Davidson Lort says, "Have you ever tried to catch a sheep's head?" Yes, I find fishing for sheep's head to be kind of boring, especially in terms of like a filming project. It's just there's not a lot to that in terms of how it looks on camera. They are tremendous shark bait though, especially in the colder months like now. But I typically don't enjoy that process of filming the catching sheep's head. Couple of comments in a language that I cannot actually. Well, I'm not even going to try to say that I can't translate it because obviously I don't speak more than one language, unfortunately. But I'm not sure what language that is. Some kind of Southeast Asian writing. I would love to know if you could tell me what type of writing that is. I would love to know what language I'm looking at. It would be really cool to see what that is. Some support from Brazil. Again, thank you from Brazil. Lefty's Pizza says hi, hello. Isaiah wants to know if I ever fished in Ontario, Canada. I've never been to Canada, unfortunately. I would love to go. But as of yet, I have not been to any part of Canada. Fizzen, FZN FPS says hi from Brazil. Hello. Glad you guys are tuning in. Drazen says hello. Psychic Psychtoad says secret spot is currently cut off the river by a freshly deposited giant wall of sand. So now the lake water is currently up around 10 to 12 feet. I emailed you some pics Yeah, I saw some of those pics, man. The wall of sand, is it artificial? Did somebody, you said freshly deposited. Does that mean that it's like from the flood, or does it mean that somebody put it there? Crazy time, that Vita real. Ola. See, I want to know what you're saying. I'm gonna, hang on, type this. Looks like either Spanish or Portuguese. Hang on. I'm trying to translate some of these. I think you're saying hello everyone, is everything good, or how's everyone doing? Yeah, Portuguese. I knew it sounded like Portuguese. The Astao, the AO sounds like Portuguese. How am I? I am great. Uh, I believe muito bom. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is very good in Portuguese. Muito bom. Ahmed says, I don't know what you're saying. Fishing not catching, or hashtag fishing not catching, says you should come up to Oregon and catch some sturgeon with me. I would love to go back up and catch some sturgeon. Yo, I love you, bro. I live about 5 minutes away from you. You don't know where I live. I love your channel. Keep it up. I appreciate the support. Eduardo Huerta says, fishing rods do you. Man. What fishing rods do I have? Is that what you're asking? I have like 50. I did a live stream where I went through all of those. So when you go on my channel, look on the live streams, and you will see a massive list of like I go through every single one that I own and talk about it in detail, minus a couple that don't get on the channel very often because I want to talk about the ones that I use on the channel. But I have like 50. Ouch. My neck is becoming so stiff. All right. What's my favorite baitcaster rod and reel? I typically use a baitcaster for snakeheads a lot, and I use a Fenwick Elite rod. I think it's like a medium heavy rod, and a PC Fun Alios 300 casting reel with 50-pound braid, and it works really well. I'm getting a lot of support from Brazil. Ricardo says, let's see. Oh wait, damn! I had Google Translate up and I lost it. Something from Brazil. SALV. I'm not getting a translation from that. But I appreciate your support from Brazil. Jesus says, here's a good topic question maybe. If you could only use short or long rods for the rest of your life, which one and why? Depends on the definition. If you mean long rod as in like 10 feet or over, I would go shorter than that. I kind of like an in-between for gar fishing. 8 feet. Whatever you would classify 8 feet as. But let's take that off the table. Let's say if I have to go 9-ish, 10-ish feet, or 5 or 6-ish feet, I'd probably go 9, 10. You can do more with that, even though that would eliminate a lot of what do you call it? A lot of like lighter tackle fishing. I would still be able to go for like my bread and butter for the big fish with like a 9 or 10 foot rod. I think Jeremy Wade used an uptighting rod, which in the Great Britain, UK is a specific type of saltwater rod for when the tide is moving past your boat at a certain angle, and you would cast beyond the direction of the tide, uptiding rod. They're like 10 feet long. That's what he originally would use back in the 70s and 80s. I think the 80s. When he was fishing for like the fish you become famous for later on, because a lot of them didn't have there weren't really what's the word, like a market for them. Nobody was out big game fishing for arapaima at the time. People were catching them for food in nets and hand lines and things, but people weren't routinely creating gear that could handle them. It wasn't popular in the 80s to fish for these types of animals. So he would use like uptighting rods that were like 9, 10 feet long to go after these big freshwater fish. So I would probably say the longer rods if I was forced to pick. Unless you're talking about like the 15-foot surf casting rods, because that would just get absurd. Let's see. Going back to your original comment, I'm reading the first hunting license were sold in 1909 in the United States. In 1919, the state, we're jumping forward 10 years now, only had 6 game wardens. I believe the state in question is California. 6 game wardens to enforce regulations, and many counties continued to claim exemptions. The number of wardens was increased. Okay, we're getting off topic here. Let's just go to Wikipedia. A hunting license or hunting permit is a regulatory or legal mechanism to control hunting, both commercial and recreational. A license specifically is made for recreational hunting and sometimes called a game. Yeah, we already know that. Game license. History. That's what I clicked on this to get to the history of it because I was curious, and it's like the shortest little bit on there. Hunting licenses are millennial old. Among the first hunting laws in the common law tradition was from the time of William the Conqueror, reign in England starting in 1066. My God, it's a long time ago. It's 1,000 years ago. In the Peterborough Chronicle entry of 1087, the rhyme of King William reported in verse that, and I would imagine this was meant to be sung, but you're not going to get that from me. Whoever killed a hart or hind should be blinded. This was because William the Conqueror's moral lives in the landscape. His control of the forest mirrors his control of the people, and his establishment of hunting laws reveals the dissonance between his love for animals and his contempt for the populace. He loved wild animals as if he were their father. Oh, how sweet. Something tells me William the Conqueror is probably not a great guy. Yeah, I'm not getting a whole lot about the history of their implementation in the United States. Let's scroll down a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, just a lot of political conflict surrounding them. Like I said before, more than one thing can be true at once. You can have hunting licenses as the originally implemented as a way to both help the control the number of people hunting a particular type of animal. Also, it's a safety regulation as well because you know who's going to be out hunting in theory. It's gotten to the point where it's so many people now that like you would have a hell of a time trying to keep track of it. But when it was originally initiated, you would have kind of an idea of who is going to be out doing this activity. So there's multiple purposes for it. And yes, originally, I'm sure part of the purpose was to say, let's make sure that not too many people are out shooting these animals. But again, it has kind of been used to supplant effective conservation measures I mean, imagine if, when did it say they were implemented in the United States? I swear I just read that somewhere. 1909, or in one of the states. I don't know what, I think it was California. Imagine if we were still trying to use medical like implementations from 1909 as like our main method of healing people. Like, now remember, this method became up in 1909. Is it? We've proven it helps, to heal people. It's like we've gone way past that. Like, let's not keep going back to this thing we came up with 110 years ago as our most effective method of conservation. So yes, what you're saying is correct in regards to one of the reasons it was invented, and what I'm saying about how it is used problematically today is also correct. And Trend says, lightning bolt, alien face, lightning bolt, happy face, lightning bolt, sunny face, you okay, microphone, penguin, ... The microphone and the penguin makes me think of the penguin that sings in the end of Toy Story 2. Wheezy, is that his name? Fishing Not Catching says, thanks, baby. Well, you're welcome. Jesus says, you can't ever use the one I don't pick anymore. Going back to the fishing rod question. Push came to shove, I think I can get more done on camera with a longer rod, so I'm going to pick that one. Eduardo says, appreciate your videos. I watch you every day. Stay up until 6 a.m. Well, I can't say I recommend you do that, but I appreciate it. The older I get, the more I value sleep. In fact, that's like a common thread I see with people. It's like all the punishments that we were forced to go through as a child, not seeing your friends or not going out with your friends, having to go to bed early, taking naps, like all these punishments that we had as children are now like our ideal way to spend our time as aging adults. Viper Toys, name a car for an edit to show my friends. I don't know. A Bugatti. Abdur says, hi, hello, thank you for tuning in. Laura Davis says, what is my favorite species to fish for? Alligator gar. Maximo says, hello, hello. Hello back. Psychic Sight Toad says from the flood. Okay, it's still an obstacle, but at the very least, it's not somebody being like, let's eliminate this access. I think I got the notification a moment ago from the pictures. I will definitely look at them when we're done with the live stream, so I don't disrupt the live stream. TGS says hello, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, see, I keep getting duplicated comments. That's a weird thing that's happening with the live stream. Riley Owens just joined. He wants to know who won the giveaway. So who won? It was a user by the name of, again, I'm looking, DanMac8382. DanMac8382 won the fishing rod, fishing reel. God, I gotta stop saying that. The fishing reel, not the rod. That is mine back there. And all the really nice terminal tackle, leader, and hooks and stuff that come with it. Dan Mack at 8382 won. We will do another giveaway soon, guys. If you do not win, there is always next time. David Hobson says, just joined in from Lufkin, Texas. I love Lufkin, Texas. Oh, and Trout Zoo is very special to me up that way. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Or what's that? Is that what it was called? Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch? Hang on. Yeah. He said, Marky Mark says, hang on. Marky Mark says, come catch some redfin pike with me here in Georgia. Love your videos. Say hello to your mother for me. Ambulance Fishing Adventures. Hey, chicken. Think you and me can make a pretty good movie together. Let's see. Hey, Terra Firma Tackle. Spencer tuning in. I finally caught one of these streams. Thank you for tuning in, man. One of the videos we filmed together is actually, I haven't released it. It's actually coming up soon. Next video is one that we filmed together. I've been hanging on to that one, so it's coming out next weekend. HC Fishing says Pearland, Texas. It's been a while since I've been to Pearland, Texas for like anything. I just don't make my way out that way. So if Sugarland is here, because I'm in Sugarland, if Sugarland is here, and you have Highway 6, and it's like 1 billion miles long, and then 288 is here. My family lives this way. My wife works that way. And it's like this triangle. And 288 is just like there's this wasteland that I don't normally need to traverse, because when we go where she works, or we go to the Houston Zoo, we go 59. When I go see my family, I go Highway 6, and then I go down 288 south. There's this whole space here where Pearland is located. I never make my way over that direction. I just don't have a reason to do it. Yo tengo la pesca en mi corazón. I have the fish in... I gotta learn Spanish. Google is so weird. You type in... Yes, translate. Yeah, fishing in your heart. Yeah, that's good to hear. I know. Dorado sacao. I know what Dorados means. I don't know what that second bit means. Ethan says, same, my neck sucks. Yeah, I used to, my neck is feeling a lot better than it used to. I used to have this horrific chronic pain in the back of my neck that I got when I was much younger doing wrestling. And like I was 20, 21, training MMA, doing wrestling. Got slammed on the back of my head a bunch of times, and it just had the worst pain of my life for years. And it finally went away, like maybe 2 years ago. And it has just been heaven ever since. But yeah, it is still stiff. By looking at the camera, I'm not really moving a whole lot, so it's still getting a little stiff right now. Brady Baxter says, how can we best determine which conservation groups to support? For example, if we donate to an anti-poaching organization, at what point are we just placing money, into rich pockets? The good thing is, any organization worth supporting is going to be required to make a lot of that information public. So what I would say is, if you're looking at donating to an organization, look at, who the internet's amazing. Who runs it? This is a good one. Who is also in that organization that is related to who runs it? That's a dead giveaway right there. That's kind of an easy one. Like that's an easy one. But essentially, there are resources online. Basically, any idea that you have online has been expressed by someone. So what I'd recommend is look for, what is the word they use? Deliverables. Like, I can look, and by the way, no matter what organization you talk about, I don't care which one it is, there will be somebody in that organization in it for themselves. That is unavoidable. It is going to happen. The best, most incredible organization in the world will have somebody in it that is in it for the wrong reasons. However, typically speaking, when you are donating money to any kind of organization, especially if they are a nonprofit, an enormous amount of how that money gets used is public information and can be found with a little bit of digging. And organizations that are really, really good at demonstrating their deliverables, basically outlining how that funding is used and what projects they have accomplished with the funding that they receive. Basically, we have achieved this, and this within this year because of this funding we received. A lot of the information is public. And I would just do a little bit of digging. Remember that anytime you're on a company website, you are reading a PR piece. So look into organizations that are required to divulge information publicly, because you can't lie about that legally. And then you can kind of see pretty clearly, like, oh, you have a nonprofit, but your CEO gets paid, 400 grand a year, and you're not listing anything that you've accomplished with any kind of measurable results. Ugh, stay away from that one. Captain Kid says, appreciate the videos and positive information regarding the alligator gar. I am preparing to work on catching some bigger alligator gar this year. That's awesome. I think this year will be a good year for him. Jimmy R. Adventure says, when is the best time of year to fish for gar? Mayish, June-ish. Just L, says, just wanted to say your channel helped me take up gar fishing last year. I caught quite a few gar thanks to you. I appreciate that. I'm always on the lookout for weekly videos. Keep up the good work. Yeah, we got a great video coming out this week. Multiple giant fish. Dennis Enrique Dos Santos says, hola, or hello. Hello back. Jesus, again, my brother-in-law said, oh, stop. I keep accidentally doing this. I'm trying to scroll. I'm clicking on somebody's comment on accident, and YouTube thinks I'm trying to remove it. I'm not. I'm a little heavy-handed tonight. Anyway, Jesus says, I think that topic is a long conversation, if you're going back to the hunting license thing, but I do believe licenses are a way to control, quote-unquote, population to the few that are actually following laws, but it's definitely to make money. Yeah, it can be both. That's the thing. It's not a cut and dry issue. There is both good and bad happening. Like the organizations I was talking about before, where you have people who are mission-minded at one level and you have people who are lining their pockets at another. The overall work that the organization does can be a net good, and you still have people in it for the wrong reasons. You still have good decisions being made, while you also have decisions being made that are very obviously not efficient decisions, effective decisions made for the right reasons. It is a complicated subject. I think what I was getting at is that what I don't like, because I do believe that hunting and fishing should be heavily regulated. In fact, I've said this before, and I am not kidding when I say it. If they outlawed alligator gar fishing tomorrow entirely, I would support it. I would shout it from the rooftops. I would be the first person. I would be one of the people who would suffer the most from that law. Of all the people in the world, I am like in a list of the top 50 who would suffer from that happening the most monetarily. But I would support it immediately. I am all for the regulation of species hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff. What I am against is people using that as a smokescreen. I do that, and I realize that you can't actually see my hand. It's just a wave went by. People using that as a smokescreen to obscure effective conservation and the obvious answers that will make people uncomfortable. Because, again, I'll say it till the day I die. Hunting for conservation is sucking water off the ground with a straw. There are so many alternatives that are just not being used because they will lose money for someone or make some institution or group uncomfortable, and it is just more convenient for people to not deal with that. So they go to the least effective strategy, and because there is a net positive of like a percent, they will still say that it has been proven to help. That's what grinds my gears. William Whitaker, I hope my boy won this giveaway. I don't know if your boy is Dan Mac 8382. He won. Jesus says it is a bigger jackpot when we're getting into cop bashing. I love cop bashing, but I gotta be careful how much I do it on the channel. It's a bigger jackpot when cops decide to be absurd and actually wait. Oh, you mean like game wardens? Okay. Decide to be absurd and actually wait and measure fish. They're also always on the lookout to catch people without a license. So I mentioned earlier that I was going to tell a story about an unfortunate lack of an encounter I had with a game warden in Florida. So I was on a dock. It's the last video I posted. I was on that dock. And at a certain point, because I was there for like 2 days, the video is 12 minutes long, and that is from 2 days, like 48 hours of fishing. Sleeping in my car and fishing throughout 48 hours. It was a nightmare. But a game warden came out there once, and it was me. Maybe like a 20-year-old dude who was, and this is important, this is the whole point of the story, a 20-year-old white kid. And then there were 3 or 4 people over to my right who were people of color. And that game warden only spoke and checked licenses of the people of color. Those of us on the dock who were white didn't even look at us. Didn't even look at us. So if you want to talk about absurd, that is absurd. That is absolutely absurd. It made me kind of sick to my stomach. Like, just, and by the way, I won't get into this too much, but for those of you who are not aware, that is what white privilege means. It means by the nature of the fact that I am white, and this is how it has been explained to me by people of color that have said this is what I'm talking about. By the nature of the fact that I'm a white man, and being a man helps as well. I am not subjected to a lot of the challenges that are inherently part of the life of people of color. I am not looked at as suspicious by people in positions of authority like game wardens or police. That is not a threat to me by nature of my skin color because of that institution's deep embedded history with racism. It doesn't mean my life is easy. That is not what that means, because I can promise you my life has not been easy. But by virtue of being born looking like this, there are struggles and problems and disadvantages that I will never experience. That is what that privilege is referring to. So yeah, when you talk about like game wardens being ridiculous, that just broke my heart. I was like, I cannot believe this is happening. Cannot believe this is happening. There's a comment on here that has been entered like 100 times. And I don't know if it is YouTube duplicating comments, because it's been doing that to a few people on repeat. Yeah, so this is happening to somebody else at the same time. Every now and then a comment will be duplicated on here like a dozen times. David Hobson says, I would like to see you go catching or catfishing for some big cats. I have a plan for that. I have a big video planned for that. I don't want to give it away because, again, so much of the success of my videos is kind of like the shock element of what is in the thumbnail or the title or the surprise. And if people know it's coming, they kind of put it to the back of their mind like, oh yeah, he said he was going to do that. I'll watch it later. Whereas if you hit people by surprise, they'll be like, oh wow, oh, let me check that out. But I do have a plan for some really big catfish, doing a cool video I have not done before. HC Fishing says, if I had to be stuck with one combo, spin cast or bait cast, what would it be? Oh, man. Probably my custom rod from Brackish Water Customs and a Daiwa BG 6500. Santos Hernandez says, do we have any pro fishing tips? Yeah, don't give up. Illuminati Geometry. Good to see you. Good to see you too. David Hobson says, everyone have a blessed night. This old man has got to get some sleep. Not young anymore. I feel you. Have a good night, man. Terraform Tackle says, that's wicked. It was a fantastic trip. Yeah, I think it was the first day fishing that we had. Yeah, that's the one I'm uploading tomorrow. Anonymous 357 says, hey, hand waving, hello. Jimmy R. Adventure says, thanks, bro. You're welcome. Flama says, hey, Wildlife, how's your night? Good. I'm losing my voice as I speak, though. Ahmed says, hey, hello back. Flama says, I keep forgetting to ask certain questions that I forget about in other live streams. That happens to me all the time. How do you go about cleaning? How do I go about cleaning gear and clothes after a muddy trip? um, uh, Typically speaking, if it's like a muddy trip where I'm like jumping in the water for like an alligator gar landing, a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll bring a change of clothes because you kind of know, like depending on the area you fish in, you kind of know where that might happen. I will bring a change of clothes, so I'll change clothes, and then I will usually I will use like jugs of water to wash off because I don't have a garden hose in our apartment. So on location, I'll have jugs of water in my car. I'll use those to wring out all the mud that I can out of my clothes. And then the other half of that equation is have a wife who loves you unconditionally and will put up with you wrecking the washing machine on the regular. Let's see. Hey. Benji says, hi, bro. Hello. Serp says, not sure if you covered it yet, but are you assuming what cut you off last video was a grouper? Yeah, probably. No, everyone that was there as it was happening was saying as a grouper. Could have been a large shark, but grouper's probably what it was. Everyone is saying, like, on the video, everyone's being like, no, grouper pull straight down. It's like, guys, it's a channel with a fixed depth. There's not like it can't. It's not like the ocean where I'm on a boat over the fish. It can't keep going down. There's a ground. There's a bank like at the bottom. So it went down and then it went off and then it went around a pylon. And everyone that was there at the time was like, yeah, that's how they do it here in this location. What is my most favorite catch? The one that made me successful and relatively famous on YouTube, the alligator gar that I'm known for, the 8-foot alligator gar. Well, Illuminati Geometry says, gator problems upstream or bull sharks while fishing? Question mark. Have I ever dealt with either? Yes. If I had to repeatedly deal with one, what would it be? Bull sharks while fishing. Flama says, do you throw your shoe in the washer too? Because I've been getting pissed with my little toothbrush. So I, generally speaking, when I get into the water to release fish, I take my shoes off in advance. And that is why I will only do that in riverbanks where I know there is not going to be a lot of glass or like trash from people. I will do that in the most remote areas that I fish. If I'm fishing like near downtown, that is never happening. So what I'll do is I will, again, use water to spray off my shoes as best I can. I don't think my boots are in here. I was going to show what kind I use, but I will wash them off with water the best I can. Sometimes I will wash out the remainder of my shoes in a bathtub. I'll let them soak, and I will use I have a strainer that I have bought specifically to go into the drain of that bathtub. So it's like bits of mud and sticks come off of them. It'll get caught in the drainer and not go down the drain. And then I'll take that, I'll empty that out, and then I'll wash the shoes off one final time. And that's kind of what I do. How long does it, Flama says, how long does it take to retie after a break off? Too long. Good Lord. I'm kind of obsessive with like FG knots and stuff like that. If the FG knot breaks, that can take a moment. I would say 5-6 minutes at least, because then you also got to put on the whole leader and everything. And usually I have leaders pre-made. Let's say I have a leader pre-made, and I'm just having to do the FG knot, 5-6 minutes. Serp says, what's the craziest encounter while fishing you've ever told? Any encounters with other fishermen? I got shot at in New Orleans. I wasn't actually in the act of fishing at the time. I was looking for areas to fish, and I got shot at from a second-story window, and the bullet skipped over the awning on my head. That happened in a recent video in New Orleans. Flament says, if I ever so happen to see you out on the water one day, could I say hi, then be quiet from afar? I would probably be freaking out to meet you. If anybody who is a subscriber or a patron or a supporter of the channel, if you ever see me while I'm filming, say hi. Come say hi, introduce yourself. I have no problem with that at all. In fact, there will be times where I will be intentionally fishing with people, like we've made plans to fish together, and people are trying to be courteous and gracious, and they'll be like, "Oh, stay out of your camera shot." And it's like, no, like we're fishing together. The point is you're on camera. Like I planned that in advance. So yeah, if you see me out and about, stop by, say hi. I have no problem with that at all. Um, I would be happy to meet anyone who supports the channel out in the wild. Captain Kidd says, in my experience, where do gar congregate during winter on rivers? Um, Rivers, typically speaking, are going to muddy banked rivers. It's not that different. It's not like they go seeking out new lands when it gets cold. What I look for when it gets cold for alligator gar are rivers with muddy banks because mud retains heat better than like sand and other stuff. I look for all the same things that I look for on the regular times of the year, like what do you call it? Eddies and breaks from the current and available food sources. So like eddies near spillways are always a good bet. And the fish are still there. It's just that they're not quite as active. It's not like winter comes and they go somewhere else. Birds do that, but alligator gar don't do that. The problem and the reason you haven't seen any alligator gar on the channel in a while is not because I can't catch them when it's cold. It's because when it gets cold in Texas, typically we also have this influx of rain and flooding. And when it floods, it's not that I don't know where the fish are going to be, it's that I can't get to them. I can't reliably keep my bait in the water without hooking trees and stuff. So, as far as where to catch alligator gar in the cold, it's not very different at all. It's not very different at all. I would just say that you have a smaller window of time throughout the day. They're going to be more lethargic. They're going to want to eat less. You have to be more careful with your bait placement. Look for muddy areas where the heat is going to be retained in the bank and areas that have ample amounts of sunshine. Besides my 8'2" gar video, what's your favorite video? Views and results aside. Ooh, well, that's kind of how I measure everything. Oh, you know what? I have an answer for this, actually. Views and results aside, the favorite video I've ever made is when I explored the abandoned Six Flags in New Orleans. I had more fun making that video than anything I've ever made. Penny Rospendi says, hello, what's up, bro? Maybe that's supposed to say, yo, hello, what's up, bro? How you doing? All right, we've been going for nearly 3 hours. So before we head out, just again, I will email the winner of our giveaway, DanMac8382. DanMac8382. I will email you. You are the winner. I'll put all the necessary information that I need from you in the email. Congrats, guys. If you did not win the giveaway this time, I will do another one. I will do another one fairly soon. I want to do more giveaways. They're good for my channel, and they're good for y'all. Have I ever ridden Critical Mass before? No. Serb says, favorite animal books. I remember you mentioning having a collection in another live stream. Yes. I'm trying to think. Depends on the subject material. I'm looking at a bookshelf. I can't remember where I put all my books because I had to move the bookshelf. Oh man, where did they all go? I'm looking. Hang on a second. Ugh, damn. I can't find any. I have a certain I have a textbook I love a whole lot. Damn. I think I actually have that book under my bed. I'll do an Instagram post with some good recommendations for books. I can't think of the ones I like off the top of my head because they're in there and it's been a while since I've been able to read them. All right, what's the rarest bird you've seen fishing in Texas? Honestly, not very rare birds. I haven't seen like the painted buntings or anything like that. Most of the birds I see on a regular basis are like cormorants and blue herons and stuff like that. I love seeing. They're not rare per se, but I do love seeing aningas, the water turkey. Really cool bird. Cobra Jones says best brand barrel swivel for fishing. So important for bigger fish. I agree. Team Catfish They make surprisingly, shockingly good ones. And then there's another brand. I can't remember what they're called. I think American Fishing Wire has a good brand. I think that's the one. I can't remember the brand that I'm always using. What is it called? Hang on a second. I think I can find it. I'm searching. Yeah, I can't find the one I was looking for. This is the problem. I'm not sponsored by any terminal tackle company, so I don't have them like ready to recite off the top of my head. I know them by sight, and then I try to remember the name, and it slips my mind. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find the one I'm looking for. Here in Ohio, it's herons and ospreys. Yeah, a lot of ospreys down here too. Dana says, "Hola, hello." Hablo en español. Unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish. All right. What do I think is better for, this from Flamaster, what do I think is better for YouTube fishing videos, cool locations and weird ways of fishing, or pretty fish? In my experience, people are not going to know what you caught until after they click on the video. So pretty fish, it has to be extremely unique to use the fish as a way to get people to click on the video. So weird ways of fishing followed by cool locations. Sometimes you can tie those together. Pretty fish at the end. I mean, it's nice to have them all. But if you're talking about how to get people to click on a video, typically implying is more important than showing. You know, in filmmaking, they have a rule that say show, don't tell. With YouTube videos and getting clicks and stuff, I would say imply, don't show. Alrighty. I'm glad I could. Cobra Jones says much appreciated for the info on the fishing rods and the swivels. I wish I could give you more info on the swivels. I basically just buy the same two brands over and over. One of them is Team Catfish, and the other one I can't remember. But fishing rods, like I feel pretty, well suited to recommend. You know, Denali, B&M, the Silver Cat, Big Cat Fever. Rods are all fantastic. A lot of people have Cast King rods. You can catch big fish on them. I'm not a fan of their floppy action. Same thing with Ugly Sticks, floppy action, but they are reliable and they do work. And then you can go the custom route. Illuminati Geometry says making a bull shark video ? Not at the moment, but hopefully soon. No problem. Flamos on spamming questions. I appreciate it. Corbin Schumacher says, "Say my name." I hear that in the Bryan Cranston voice. Say my name. Yeah, come on. You know it. You're Heisenberg. You're goddamn right. All right. No better way to end the live stream than with a Breaking Bad quote. This Saturday, epic, massive video. Hang on, I got one last comment. Mexico Hernandez says, nice to catch you in person. The man behind the channel. Brilliant work. While I haven't been hitting the streams myself, you helped me keep my childhood passion alive. I'm so happy to hear that. Megan Brooks says, hi, hello back. Flamas, last question. Favorite non-Brazilian UFC fighter? George St. Pierre. He's my favorite fighter of all time. All right. Tune into this video coming up Saturday. Multiple fish over 100 pounds. Multiple fish over 7 feet long. Non-stop action. Crazy location. Screaming drag fighting. So the type of screaming drag you saw in the last video, except we catch the fish repeatedly, and they are big and they are powerful and they are beautiful. All right, I am going to head out. I'm getting loads of people tuning in, saying hello, but as you can hear, my voice is going out. My voice is going out, and I know my voice needs to recover a little bit before I watch Hanata Moicano fight Drew Dober this weekend, because I know my voice is going to go out when that happens. All right, I will catch you guys this Saturday morning, big epic video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Dan Mac 8382, congratulations on the epic win of the giveaway. Guys, we will do another giveaway shortly, but until then, I will see you guys Saturday for our massive fish video.